Hey, what's going on, everybody? Elliot here from Movie Files, back with another YouTube Live watch-along stream. We're celebrating a pretty cool movie, one of my favorite movies this past decade. We're going to break it all down here in this watch-along. If you can't tell by the title, we're celebrating and watching Mad Max Fury Road, George Miller, Charlize Theron, Tom Hardy, the insane stunts, all of it and above. We're here to break it all down. Very excited to be here tonight, but I couldn't do this by myself. I do have some special guests that I'll be bringing here in a bit. But if you're just joining into the chat, number one, thank you guys for tuning in. I see we got Luke reviews in the chat already, Bearded Film Reviews. Welcome. As you guys kind of get everything settled, if you guys don't own the physical copy, it is available to stream on all your online streaming services, Amazon Prime, iTunes, Vudu, Google Play Store, and all those fun streaming places. So definitely queue up your movie. We're going to probably get started here in a couple minutes, but with that kind of being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my special guest tonight. I'm very excited to have them back on. They've both been on this channel before. They are great people, a lot of great content, and we're going to talk about it tonight. So my first guest, I got Unyolo Big J, who has an awesome Instagram account. Him and his daughter have a great page. They have a lot of great things going. They have a great community that they've built so far and a lot of great content. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce you guys to my first guest, Unyolo Movie Blog. What's going on, man?
Hi there. How's everyone? It's going okay.
Good. Awesome. Well, hey, man, I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the audience again. I know you've been on my channel before, but if you want to tell everyone about what you and your daughter do, what you guys have going on your channel now, and things that we can look forward to.
So we have an Instagram page that is a way that we can stay connected because we are living in different countries. My daughter is 15. I just turned 41, and we wanted something cool to do together. So we started this page to share our love about movies. So what we do is we review movies. We do lists. We do all kind of content that's related with movies and what we like about movies. So just pass it our Instagram and just see what we've been doing.
Awesome, man. Like he said, they have a lot of great content, reviews, fan casting, appreciating cinematography, so many great things. And another thing I love about their content is they have a great community. They do a lot of great group kind of reviews and events. So they have a lot of great stuff, guys. So all of Unyolo's content is in the link below. His Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, website, all that stuff is in the description below. But I have another special guest with us tonight. And this gentleman, we just came about a month and a half ago. He's doing a really cool thing on his Instagram with his quarantine conversation. He has a great Instagram account. He has a great YouTube. He's a great guy. And that guy that I'm bringing in is the guy at the movies. What's going on, Joe?
Oh, hello. And I apologize. I am having technical difficulties tonight.
No worries, my friend. No worries.
Yeah, so that should be fun for the evening. But thank you so much for having me again.
Oh.
Frozen us again?
Frozen.
Yeah, we'll get him back in here in a bit.
Am I back?
Yeah, you are back, man. I'm going to give you the screen.
Fun fact, I've only seen about 25 minutes of this movie, so I'm excited to watch it all the way through.
Oh,
God. Very cool. You're in for a treat, man.
This should be interesting for us all. But if you don't know me already, Guy at the Movies, daily movie reviews, news, quarantine conversations, usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but some fun ones popped in here and there. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock is the next one. So that is a little, on Mondays. It's a new initiative that I've launched. And again, I apologize for these technical difficulties, but a lot of fun things. The best part of all of this is getting to meet great people like the two that I'm joined with tonight. And I look forward to some fun conversation.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, you're in for a treat, man. This is a fun movie. This is definitely one of my favorites in a decade, and we'll talk about that when we kind of get everything going. But again, guys, if you're at home just tuning in, again, we got Big J from Unyolo Movie Blog and Joe from Guy at the Movie, and we are watching Mad Max Fury Road. So we're gonna get this thing started here in about a couple minutes. But kind of going back to what Joe was just saying in regards to 25 minutes, was that at a theatrical 25 minutes or just at home watching on Blu-ray, didn't finish it up? Like, what's up, man?
It was at home. I was with friends, and I forget what was going on, but we started watching it, and something got us off of it, and I never went back. Gotcha. And it wasn't because I didn't like what I saw, but it was just that I hadn't really seen much prior. I didn't know the Mad Max story.
Gotcha.
But I'm back. I'm ready. I'm all caught up and ready to go.
Gotcha. It brings us to Big J. Did you get a chance to see this at the theater, or was it a home experience? Or
no, I saw it on IMAX, so it was like incredible. At the time, I have to say I'm a huge Mad Max fan of the original, so I went in very, very angry that they were doing another one, thinking like, why we don't need this. And I left the cinema and I was really torn apart because in a way I felt like we didn't have that much of Mad Max, but with time it just became like one of my favorite movies. It's just incredible. And then if you just go and see the behind the scene, like with the stunt doubles, it's just like out of this world. So yeah, it's a great movie and it's a great add-on to the Mad Max, and gives me some hopes when people say they're doing another Scarface or another something. Yeah. Now I give it a little more hope that it might be cool.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. And to that point with Luca Guadagnino and the Coen brothers doing the next film, it's always, especially when you have these films that we all love and grew up with, and it's just like you're skeptical about some things, like, oh, can they do it? Can they not do it? So yeah. I'm actually, so personally, me, when it comes to this film, Mad Max, it's been so many years since I saw the original. I remember bits and pieces of it. I saw the first one, the second one. I don't remember. What was it? Thunderdome? Was that the third one?
The third one is just like,
is it not even worth?
No, it's Abbey. Like, no, for me, it's not even a part of it. It's just like really bad. But the first one is awesome, and the second one is really, really cool.
Gotcha.
So, but like after the third one, I thought, well, it's time to stop. And then there was so long between them that I just like, and you always have that idea, like this guy now, George Miller, is like so old. Is he going to do an action movie? Come on. Yeah. And it completely proved me wrong. And it's incredible. And it just shows that age is not a factor in stuff like this.
Well, I'm right there with you, man. I think of George Miller and I think of Martin Scorsese. They're just rock stars, right? No matter how old they get, they still have the adrenaline. They still have the passion to make these films they love. So, yeah, I mean, again, going back to my fandom, I remember bits and pieces of the first two. Again, I didn't see the third one at all. And I remember when this film came out, which I unfortunately didn't get the chance to see it at the theater, which is one of my biggest regrets, because I know this is, we'll talk about it here when we get the movie started here in about 3 or 4 minutes. We'll wait till Joe gets back in the chat. But I really regret not seeing this film at the theater, because I would have loved to have seen it in IMAX with the great sound system and everything. I really regret that. But in regards to just going into this film in 2015, I was like, is this a reboot? Is this a soft reboot? Is it a resetting? Because again, Unyolo, you're more familiar with this franchise. Is this like technically kind of doing the whole Halloween Terminator where they're forgetting the third one and going into this? Or is this like supposed to be like, where is this fall chronologically in I guess the franchise?
Well, I think they were smart, because what they did is like they just picked up the character and they just didn't explain anything where he's been. And like the other ones finish and we still have him wandering around and trying to survive. So there's no need of like a plot line that's very complicated. There's nothing it's just him trying to survive in a world that's now dangerous and completely different. So they were very clever in just not explaining a lot and just putting him there. Is there doing what he does all the time, and now he's in a new story. So I thought that was the best thing, that they didn't try and explain why now we have Tom Hardy, we don't have Mel Gibson. They didn't do that kind of thing. They just went in and like the first like sequences, they just made us forget about anything else. And I think that was the secret of this movie.
That's interesting, because I know there's not a lot, and we got Joe back in the chat. What's up, Joe? We're just kind of talking about just the fandom and everything of the franchise. So it's really interesting, because I know a lot of franchises, if we were to see that be done with some other big franchise, we'll be questioning them to the umpteenth degree in regards to like, wait, where does this fall? Why are they resetting it? But like you just mentioned, and I think it helps that it was the creator George Miller that brought the franchise back sort of for some new director or a new studio. So I'm really, really happy he was able to kind of continue his story and bring some great actors into the story.
Yeah, I also think that might be something that other movies should probably do, is not try so hard to explain a huge time jump or time gap. and just roll with it. You know, let other people think about what's going on.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree with you. So you know what? We're gonna go ahead, and if everything's good, Joe, you ready to get this bad boy started? Alrighty, guys. So we are going to go ahead. I'm going to pull up a little timer here. Give me a second. Again, guys, if you don't own the film, this movie is available to stream on all your major streaming services, Amazon Prime, all those fun things, iTunes, Apple, the Google Play Store, Vudu. So definitely go ahead and get your copy ready to go. We're going to get this bad boy started in 5, 4, 3, 2, pressing play now. So periodically, I'll go ahead and bring this timer up. So if you guys are just joining into the chat or taking a bathroom break, you'll know where we are in the film. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. So again, Joe, previous knowledge, which is franchise, have you seen any of the previous Mad Max before? Prior to
I saw the first one years ago, but other than that, going into this very fresh. To be honest, I don't know too much. I know it was a hit. I know it was great. And I love Tom Hardy and I love the action. I love Charlize Theron. So
right. Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. On YOLO, he's definitely more. He's the pro on the stream tonight, guys. So he's going to probably be answering a lot of questions we may or may not have about the franchise. But I'm like you, Joe. I saw the first two when I was really, really young. I remember like bits and pieces and like the foundation of the film, but it really wasn't one of those franchises that kind of stuck on me. But I was really, really fascinated, like you just mentioned, when they brought this film up in 2015. I didn't see it at the theater, unfortunately, but when it came out on Blu-ray, this is one of my, like, I rarely do, I don't want to say blind buys, but I heard so many great things about this film that I didn't have to see it at the theater. I just bought it when it first came out, you know, back in 2012 or 2015. So
that's excellent.
Really, really, really excited. So 25 minutes in, you're in for a treat, man. Like this is one of those films that it's one of those films that you don't see it really too often nowadays, where it's like visual storytelling. You know, obviously we have exposition with characters talking a lot of dialogue, but this film, there's not a lot of dialogue in this film. Everything's like purposeful. And again, George Miller tells a story with everything moving. This film is constantly moving, which is just insane.
And also, I mean, sorry.
That's the best kind of film.
No, and again, like I heard a lot of people saying how simple the plot was in Extraction, and it was just a simple movie, and why didn't it have more of a plot? This has no plot. This is go from point A to point B to point A again, and there's no like complicated plot. It couldn't be any simpler than this, and everyone thinks it's amazing. Like the other one, like this is what sometimes I don't understand. Like, why do people think he has to be very complicated and have twists and turns? This is like a simple story, but this guy knows how to film it. He knows how to tell a story, and he knows how to tell it visually, and that's something very hard to do.
Yes. I mean, thinking of a couple directors now that are like visual storytellers within the medium. I think of, a Zack Snyder, who I'm a fan of. I think of even a Michael Bay to a certain extent in regards to they know how to paint a picture. Sometimes their storytelling elements aren't always the greatest, but they're great visual storytellers. So that's definitely an art that doesn't really get as much shine as you just mentioned, Big J, as you just mentioned in regards to Extraction. I mean, people complain about the storylines and they want to overcomplicate it, but sometimes it's just a straightforward story, just like Mad Max. This is literally a car chase film. The first half of the film is a car chase, and the second half is a race. So very simple plot, but just great storytelling, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, that opening scene there, that chase right there, reminds me of the desert chase at the beginning of Star Wars Rise of Skywalker a lot. When they're like they're chasing, the stormtroopers are chasing them, and they make that joke about, they can fly now. Yeah. It gives me a lot of like instant memories of that.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if JJ maybe took some inspiration from that, because this film is, again, it's only 5 years. Again, we're celebrating the 5-year anniversary of this film, but I think this is, I hate to say it, but this is like I don't hate to say it, but I know sometimes people use the word masterpiece and there's really no meaning behind it. But I literally think this is a modern masterpiece of a film in regards to, I can't remember how many times, again, I own the Blu-ray of this, but guys, do yourself a favor if you haven't already, watch the behind the scenes of how they made this film. It is incredible how George Miller was able to make this film come true. 80% of the film was like practical effects, very little CGI used in the stunts. It's incredible how they were able to make this movie.
And the thing is, like, even the people involved couldn't like understand how amazing it would look. Tom Hardy came later on and apologized because he made George Miller's life really hard, complaining all the time. And after he saw the movie, he went back and say, I'm so sorry.
Yep.
I never imagined this is what you were doing. So that has to be really impressive, that you are filming something and you don't even understand what he's doing. That's a genius there.
That is so much trust. You have to be, I mean, it is a symbiotic relationship between director and their actors. But like you just mentioned, there has to be so much trust. Because again, when we're done watching this, guys, if you haven't watched the behind the scenes of this film, literally every time they would shoot, it would be dust everywhere. Dust in the frame, dust in the actors' mouths and their eyes. So it's just like, it was so much trust in George Miller. But going to Joe, in regards to the film so far, man. Again, I know you're getting close to the point where you're at the film when you saw 25 minutes in, but kind of tell us what you're thinking about these visuals, man. And George Miller, are you a big fan of George Miller as a director?
I like George Miller. I think your comparisons to other directors were pretty spot on in terms of how he works with a visual palette to really tell a story. So far, I'm just kind of in awe of all this again. Like it's really wild seeing how it seems like it's turned up to like 1.5 speed, like the way they're moving through things. Right, but it's just visually really. I'm really interested in like understanding what the hell is going on. It ropes you in right away.
I couldn't agree more. And kind of on George Miller's I'm just looking at his filmography. This guy has a really interesting filmography dating back to obviously Mad Max coming out in 1979, and 2 years later, Mad Max 2. Directed the Twilight Zone movie. I didn't know he was, I guess it was like multiple directors a part of that. But then you kind of look at further in his career, stuff like Babe, the sequel to Babe, and Happy Feet 1 and 2. I mean, he has a really interesting filmography where it's just like kids movies, action movies, Twilight Zone. I mean, it's a very diverse director when it comes to genre films.
Happy Feet cracks me up.
Happy Feet. It would have been, I know you guys know the story in regards to Warner Brothers Justice League Immortal. That would have been something interesting to see, right?
Yeah,
certainly.
Like, and it would have bring something unique to it. And I think that's what DC was needing more than anything. But that's sometimes like people are afraid of doing something new because they know they're going to get a lot of problems with people complaining, and that's always Marvel now has the confidence that they can do something new. They don't need to worry. Right. And I would love for DC and some of these properties to have the same confidence and just do their own thing. And if he fails, he fails. But at least they tried. I prefer to see a movie that tried and was horrible than to just see something that was like paint by numbers and it was just okay.
Well, and that's what you saw with Zack Snyder and everything he tried to do. They cold feet away, and didn't. I think some filmmakers need to be allowed, when you hire them on, you need to trust them that they're going to deliver. When you allow them to run through their full, the full plan, and that's something that happened there. But
I mean, these are insane. Yeah, like all the production is insane on this. Just like love to know where this comes from in someone's head. When I'm watching these movies, I'm always thinking someone had to think about these things. What kind of head does he have? Like, it must be a really weird place.
He's a rock star, man. I mean, only a rock star would come up with these crazy visuals. I know just looking at the history of this film, and Big J, you kind of alluded to it in regards to some of the behind the scenes issues with some of its main cast members, were mostly the main two actors. Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron is very well documented. They did not get along in this film. And just even literally is funny because I guess it just kind of came about with Tom Hardy promoting Capone, but he recently has said that he really kind of wishes he can go back and kind of hindsight's 2020, but he wished he would have approached it differently. They both admitted they were afraid of this film in regards to they didn't know how it was going to turn out, like Big J was talking about. And they just were clashing. They were clashing, two titans, two great actors that just.
But Charlize, she's a rock star.
Oh yeah,
she's like she's the one like. She picks up this movie and it's called Mad Max, but forget about Mad Max. She like grabs it and takes. And this is how she was there, because she was always complaining how Tom Hardy was always complaining, and he should just get up and do his job. So she was in the same conditions as him, and she was just nailing it. She's like amazing.
Yeah, Furiosa. I'm sorry, Furiosa is an incredible character. You just mentioned Charlize Theron. She's an incredible actress. Such a fan of hers, and it's something too. You know, we always talk about, you know, with some of the Hollywood films. You know, there's the whole agendas. You know, pushing certain minorities to be in the front of the screen, or pushing female lead characters. This felt so natural to the film. You know, it wasn't George Miller wasn't trying to do an agenda. It was just natural to the story. Such a badass character, such an amazing character, played by a great actress.
Yeah, and I think that's the secret. When you do a good movie with a good character, and you don't care if it's a girl, if it's a guy, whatever it is, you do a good movie with a good character. And that's like when you hear things like Sigourney Weaver in Aliens. Yeah, like that's one hell of a character. It doesn't matter like if it's a girl, if it's a boy, whatever. She just played it so well. And I think that's the problem. Sometimes now we have characters, and we try, and we talked about this when we did that Endgame watch along. We don't need them to all get together on the screen and just have the shot of all the ladies together and look at us. No, things need to be natural. They need to tell a story, and they need to show why this character is badass. And Furiosa is like on par with things like Sigourney Weaver or
Sarah Connor.
And that's the thing. People talk about James Cameron, but he knows how to write well for female characters, because I think he just doesn't care. He makes a good role, and he says, this is a girl. That's it. I'm not like gonna...
No, I agree. What do you think about that, Joe, in regards to just kind of the natural progression of a character, regardless of the gender, and how it's handled in this film, and also just films in general?
I think it's an incredible thing if you can deliver on it, and you have the story that is able to kind of be non-gender specific, depending on the actor or actress that you get involved. But back to the Endgame thing, I think that's very easy for us to say, like, we don't need to see that as three men sitting here saying that. But for young girls or whoever else, it may be something that they were waiting to see, especially given that it took Marvel forever to get Captain Marvel on screen in her own film. And then now Black Widow is finally getting pumped in there at the beginning of Phase 4.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with the sentiment. I think that, when you find, I'm trying to remember what movie it was recently I was reading about, but they didn't care who the character, like who, or whether it was a male or a female in the role. They just wanted a solid character in that role. And I think that's, when you have the creative process in mind from start to finish, then you're going to deliver a solid film. Right. When you are cutting corners and changing things willy-nilly, you're not going to be able to deliver the way that, hopefully the audience wants to see, but also those who are going to be bankrolling you in future films want to see.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, Joe, and to what Big J was saying, it's a hard thing to do, right? Especially in today's climate with the cancel culture and agendas, and is it organic, is it natural, is it meaning to be a message? So it's definitely a balancing act when it comes to some of these movies and kind of what's behind it. Did they write the story for just a great character, and whoever auditioned for the role, whoever they envisioned in the role came to be, or was it, again, we have to have this person, we have to have this? But again, it is important to have people being represented on the big screen and all that stuff. So it's an interesting world that we live in now in regards to the culture and kind of the Twitter film industry and all that good stuff. So, but again, I think this film did a beautiful job just showing us a great character.
And it also gets back to the conversation about Ghostbusters a few years ago. I think even some of the actresses in that movie have made the comment, it's time to stop repurposing old stories and old films for females, just to say that we made a female version, but let's write some creative things for those that we want to see represented on screen. And I think that's what we're lacking a lot right now, is originality in the stories that are being told. And what we see with Mad Max is the most original story right here. Not worrying about connections to the past and all of that right off the bat, but just delivering on the story.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the point. The point is, like, people get really angry when, for example, we had Ghost in the Shell and we got Scarlett Johansson like doing it. But then people think it's okay. Let's like turn all the Ghostbusters into girls, and that's okay. Like, just do new stories. Why do we need to change certain characters just to make it feel like it's a marketing thing? It doesn't feel natural. And my problem with like, and even my daughter, and she's a girl, and she felt it. My problem is when things would not happen. If you're in the middle of a battle with thousands of people around you and you're fighting, people are not going to end up like being separated in genders. And now it's all the girls. Oh, you a boy. Wait. Move to the. No, that wouldn't happen. And it was really cool when we were having all the girls fighting and passing the glove of Thanos and stuff. But when they just end all together in that shot, that's when it causes a problem, because it's like, oh, let's take a group pictures to prove that we did this, because people might not have noticed that all the girls were kicking ass. So let's all get together. And that's my only issue. And there's a rumor that Ripley in Aliens, when it was written original, the thing was a man. It was a role of a man. And then in the last minute, it was changed to put a girl into it. And that's why the part is so strong, because like the writers forgot to like, oh, this is a girl now. So that's why she's written in a certain way. So there's been that rumor for a while. So that would explain, write the part, don't care if it's a girl or a boy, and then it might work.
It's a very good example. But going back to your Endgame example, that's a very Disney thing too, right?
Yeah.
Look what we're doing. Quick 2 seconds, and we check that box, and we're good to go.
Yeah, and that's the issue that people have. Like, we had that thing in Star Wars that we had like the lesbian kiss in a little bit, and it just looks off, because it's like, oh, the camera's focusing here, and then, oh, look what we're doing. Okay, we did this. Check the box. And I think that's the problem. They don't get the people they really care about. We had like an awesome scene with Charlize Theron in Atomic Blonde that she's with, like, and that was completely natural. Everyone just believed that scene was completely natural. We didn't need to go, oh, look, there's two girls together. And it didn't feel cheap or anything. It wasn't just like, it just felt natural. And I think that's what you need to do.
And that's a really underrated film. And we'll talk about Atomic Blonde and some of her roles here in a little bit in regards to Charlize Theron. But really good debate, guys. Really good conversation. I think these conversations are important to have. And like I said, when you have people that do it more organically, you'll hear less and less of these issues, or hear in the headlines, all male character driven film or female centric film. I think, we're going to get to the point where it's just natural and it's just, organic. So we're getting closer and closer to that date, hopefully sooner rather than later. But a couple comments here in the chat. The next Max movie should be 3.5 hours. Yeah, this is great. Again, this has been a couple years since I watched this film. I couldn't believe, for some reason, I thought this film was like 2.5 hours, but it's only 2 hours. And it just goes by so fast. But yeah, I definitely agree with you in regards to the next one, which we'll talk about the future of this franchise with the prequel and, Anna Taylor-Joy taking on Furiosa's character. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I would love to just spend 3.5 hours in the wasteland with Max, with George Miller here.
Nicholas Hoult also has an excellent role here.
This is one of my first time. Well,
it's amazing.
Was it this movie or what that zombie film? I can't remember which came out first, because
the zombie, I think it was first.
Okay, I can't remember the name of it. Do you know that film I'm talking about, Joe?
Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies.
Yeah, I think that was my first time being exposed to Nicholas Hoult, and I think it was this, and then of course his role in the X-Men franchise. But he's a really good actor. It would have been interesting. I don't know how you guys fell on the boat in regards to the casting of him versus Robert Pattinson with Batman. Obviously, we don't know what Robert Pattinson is going to deliver, but I'm really looking forward to that. But are you guys Nicholas Hoult fans?
Yeah, I was on Nicholas Holt's side to get the part for Batman. I think he could. I know, and since About a Boy, I don't know if you guys ever saw that, when he was like a kid actor. About a Boy, it's with what's his name, the Hugh Grant. and he's like a kid that the mom doesn't really like. He's there a lot, and it's like a comedy, but he's really good. And then I just saw him when he was older. But I think he would really nail Batman. I wasn't like, I'm a little bit more now on Pattinson's side because of the things I've been seeing, but like Twilight and all those things before, I was a bit on the fence. But now, after watching certain movies, maybe he'll do a good job. But I think he would. Pattinson looks very like, he's like this gorgeous guy. He wouldn't come like, Batman needs to be someone that can blend in. He needs to be that playboy, but he also someone that can like put a disguise and walk through the streets with criminals and stuff. Like Pattinson looks like a top model. He's not going to go anywhere, and people will say, "Oh, we don't know that guy." Yeah, you do. Like you saw him before. So
he looked kind of rough in A Good Time. He didn't look like a supermodel. I mean, he looked like a drugged up druggie. But no, I know what you mean. I know he does. I mean, the jawline, obviously, and the good looks. But I think I'm really excited to see what him and Matt Reeves has cooked up for us. Hopefully
for sure.
We'll see what goes on with that, with everything being pushed back. But yeah, I mean, so Joe, are we close to the point?
Jawline, you know.
Oh yeah, you got to have that jawline if you want to be Batman for sure. Are we almost close to the point? Because I know where are we at in this film? About 20. So about 5 more minutes, Joe. Everything will be brand new to you, man.
I think we're actually there already.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it may not even been 25 minutes. But on the Nicholas Hoult front, I was very against him getting Batman, mainly because I struggle with him. I think that he is very much. I don't think he has the range, quite honestly. And I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but I didn't like what he did with his character in X-Men. When I saw Tolkien, that was that was one of 2 movies in my life that I ever debated walking out of the theater in.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I do think that maybe he could have been given more to work with, but I just don't see him as. I think the thing with Robert Pattinson is you see the distance that he's put between Twilight and now. He's done a lot of great indie work, and he has that dark, brooding personality that I think can carry through. I haven't seen that with Nicholas Hoult yet. Yeah. And I just don't. I want to see more out of him. I think that he's a solid actor, but he's got to find the right role.
It's interesting. He has there's a show that's premiering actually today on Hulu, The Great, with Nicholas Hoult and Anna Fanning, or the younger sister of.
Yeah.
It's a new comedy. I'm gonna check it out and see what it's all about. But also, I know he has that. I don't know if you guys liked his role in The Favorite as well, where it was kind of a different character we've seen him play before. So he's a really interesting actor. But I really like Big J was saying, I really love him in this film. I thought at first you thought his role was gonna be really, really small, but he ended up being a pretty pivotal character in this film. So.
Me, to be honest, the one I like the least is on X-Men. I think on X-Men he does nothing. He's just there.
Looking at those films back, I really love First Class and Days of Future Past, and obviously things went south for them in regards to Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. But those are films. Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, they had a lot of great talent. I think the 2 best things coming out of those films were James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. But everyone else kind of got the short end of the stick, if you ask me, when it came to that younger cast.
Okay, this is insane because this is no special effects.
Nope. Yep.
If you see the making of this guy's I still didn't saw the part that they are on those poles.
Back and forth,
it's guys from the Cirque du Soleil doing that. There's nothing. There's no CGI. There's nothing here, and it's just impressive.
Yeah, I can't stress it enough, guys. For those at home, definitely do yourself a favor after this watch along. If you own the movie or not, go to YouTube and type in Mad Max behind the scenes. It's like 30 minutes. It's incredible what they do to get to pull off all these stunts. It is incredible. I would love, going back to George Miller again as a director, Immortals, Justice League Immortals or not, I think, wasn't his name in the mix for The Flash? I mean, everyone's name at one point was mixed up in The Flash, but I would love to see him tackle some type of DC character with his visual storytelling elements.
The one that it was closer was Superman. He was like really close to do Superman. I think they were trying to get him.
Superman or before
the Man of Steel 2 that never happened.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Him and Matthew Vaughn, I think name was brought up. Yeah.
So he was one, but then he also like had these falling outs with Warner because of this movie.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
And that like he said he wouldn't work with Warner anymore. That. What's ridiculous? Like companies like Warner and Disney and stuff should like just think better what they're doing, because that was ridiculous how they tried to trick him, saying that this movie made no money. It's like, come on, like it's just a joke. When you put all this effort in, and then because I think it was 15 million that they needed to pay him, 15 million.
Like 50 million. Yeah, something. Yep.
Come on, like Warner spends that in toilet paper. Like it's a joke. Come on.
Yeah, I do think that maybe that will be a little bit different now with Warner Brothers having changed ownership and
for sure.
changing. So hopefully there's some righting of the ship.
It must be because they're doing the prequel now, and it's going to be with Warner.
It was just, so they must have cleared, hashed out whatever was going on, because earlier this week, not even earlier this week, I think literally yesterday, he had confirmed that Charlize Theron, which I still think she's going to make a cameo, and not to spoil things for this film for Joe, but I still think she's going to make an appearance in the prequel of Furiosa. But they want to, George Miller said that he wanted to have her in the film and maybe do some de-aging technology, but he just felt it'd be better just to recast the character, which it sucks. I would have loved to see Charlie. I still think she's going to make a cameo some way, somehow. But I think the rumor was Anna Taylor-Joy was going to be the leading Furiosa, the younger version of her, which would be interesting to say, because I like her as an actress, but we really haven't seen her play this type of action film before. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do with that film.
Well, as long as they don't do the aging, I'm fine. Because
he said that because obviously she's like 44, and she's still an incredibly beautiful woman. But
that's the thing,
a younger character. Yeah,
no, that's the thing. If you put makeup on her, you don't need any de-aging.
Right.
If you see those commercials that she does of like the perfume, she looks like she's 20. But the thing is, like, I don't know how you guys felt, but The Irishman, I just found it really hard to watch it in terms of like the de-aging. It wasn't right. There's something there that doesn't work yet. I don't think it works.
I think the only de-aging. Yeah, go ahead, Joe. I was going to say, for me, I was just I'm a big Martin Scorsese fan. I might be a little biased, and I was just so locked into the film. But I think the only de-aging that I've really been like, just totally didn't bother me at all was probably Marvel for Michael Douglas, or some of the stuff they did with Robert Downey Jr. and
Robert Downey Jr. for me, in the one that is like talking in the conference. That de-aging was the best I ever saw, because that looked. But that's the thing. They had a lot of like images of him that they could use and stuff, and
it wasn't an entire movie,
right? And it wasn't an entire movie.
Yeah.
But my problem was like with some parts of De Niro, I don't think he was de-aged enough. He was like, he still looked old. That thing on the gas station, and Joe Pesci is saying, "Hey, kid," I'm like, "Kid, Jesus Christ, are you joking? It looks older than you."
Right.
So
it's very true.
But did you guys saw the guy that did it on YouTube with like just amateur software, and he looked better than the Scorsese movie?
Yeah, I saw that. That seemed a lot of deep fake characters out there, or talented creators out there to do a lot of great job of it. This his
scene is amazing,
incredibly blown away. Again, I'm so envious of you, Big J, that you were able to see this at the theater. This film would have just been so crazy to see at the theater and just taking it all in.
Yeah, and I saw it on IMAX. On IMAX, this was like ridiculous, and I think this is one of the big like. I love this movie, but it causes me a lot of problems because I'm usually now paying extra to watch movies in IMAX, and like 90% of them, I finish the movie and think, for God's sake, I should have paid. I should have gone to the normal station, right, to the normal session, because this one, and there was another movie. There was a movie I didn't like, but it looked amazing. It was one that was passed in a prehistoric time, and it's like hunting mammoths.
I know he said Ice Age. It's
No,
man, I know what you're talking about.
The cover of the poster is like him jumping on the ice, and there's something under it. Anyway, the movie was really sucked.
Yeah,
but the visuals, it was like a National Geographic show, but with like mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and stuff. It looked amazing.
Yeah.
And so that helped the movie, but most of them, it's just a waste of money.
Yeah. And we talked about it a little bit earlier in regards to some of the box office and where this film kind of stood during its time in 2015. So, according to, some sites, it's anywhere between 150 to 185 in regards to the production value, which I think George Miller used every penny to bring us these gorgeous visuals. And during its theatrical run, when it finished, it was 375 million worldwide that it made. And it didn't blow the doors off the box office opening weekend. I think it was like 45 million opening weekend. But one thing that this film was able to do, which a lot of action films aren't able to do, which is get nominated for Best Picture, which to me is, action stunt works I don't think stunt coordinators get the recognition they deserve. But I don't know how do you guys feel about action films being nominated for Best Pictures? But this is one of the rare ones, and I think it should have won. I think that year The Revenant won, but it's one of the few films that get nominated for a genre film, which is crazy to think about.
First of all, it's ridiculous that stuntmen still don't get nominations or Oscars. Yeah. They should use this movie as a reel just to show them, because this how people can still not give awards to these guys is ridiculous.
Yeah.
About getting the Best Picture, I don't really care what kind of movie it is. If it's the best one, it should win. If it's a superhero one, if it's a horror, it should win. Then people just have to be like, look, I love Marvel movies, but to be honest, I don't believe that there's any of them that deserve to win the Oscar of Best Movie. Just because I think it's not that kind of movie for me. It doesn't tick all the boxes. There's none of them that I would say, okay, this deserves to win the Oscar for Best Movie. But if there's one, and for example, you guys know I'm a big fan of The Joker. I love The Joker. If there's one and it's a superhero movie or it's action or horror, it should win. People shouldn't be separating them.
Yeah. Or Logan. I know Logan comes up in that conversation, and some other ones. But in regards to Joe, in regards to Best Pictures and all that stuff, are you kind of in the same boat where it doesn't matter the genre, it doesn't matter the subject matter, everyone should get this chance to be at least nominated for Best Picture?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm in all of that illusion with Tom Hardy being buried under that sand and it looking like a mountain range, and then he popped. That's incredible cinematography. Yeah, but yeah, I'm totally in all of any in support, I should say, of any movie that deserves to be nominated should be nominated. I think that we see a lot of.
Hope that the Oscars get you, Joe. They take you out. They sniper.
And we're back.
Oh, you're back.
I think we see a lot of bias as it is in the nominations and the voting. But a good movie is a good movie, and it shouldn't be based on anything but the talent, the skill, the cinematography, and the type of film that is put forth, not how much money it made, not how popular it was, but what is the quality in the movie. And I think that we don't recognize that in our award shows enough. Right.
No, I totally agree. And I mean, the film was able to get some acknowledgement at the Academy Awards back in 2015, winning many different visual awards, such as Best Editing. I believe it won Best Sound Design, if I'm not mistaken, or Sound Mixing, Sound Editing, Film Editing, hair coloring and makeup, Production Design, and I believe it won for some other awards too. I'm gonna have to double check, but yeah, the big one was definitely the picture. And I think George Miller, I believe he was even nominated that year. So this film did a lot for an action film, which is one of my favorite genres growing up. So
this was a great scene in IMAX also.
Oh, the one-on-one fight that we're gonna get here coming up.
Yeah. This was amazing. Everything looked amazing because you get the extra wide of the screen, so it just looks like you inside of it. And Charlize here is just Jesus.
And I think I haven't been keeping notes, but we haven't probably had a line of dialogue in about 15 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, through that whole chase scene. So again, this goes to show you just you're so captivated without a character saying a word.
Yeah. But that's what Tom Hardy does really well. He acts really well with his eyes. And that's why he's like this actor that people can put him in a mask, because that part that he was like attached to the car in the front, just with his eyes, you could see his fear. Like he doesn't need to say a word or do anything. It's just amazing.
Definitely.
Well, that's really good, because in Bane you couldn't understand a thing he said, or in Dark Knight Rises. It was all.
But that's another role that really grew on me. When I saw it, I wasn't really like convinced with Bane in that movie, but now he plays a really good role. Even the voice becomes really, it's haunting. You don't really understand everything he says, but the way he speaks, it's really good.
Yeah,
I agree.
I have a love for Bane's character.
Yeah, I just think more could have been done to fix that
that
issue.
But supposedly, again, it was done because they were saying the first they had to record all his lines again, because on the first one, no one could understand anything he was saying. So what we saw in the movie, it's like making it better. So imagine how it was before.
So they settled at 50% improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a great actor. And I guess kind of to that point too, and also too, I don't know, one of the things that this film also did was kind of bring up some of my favorite actresses now in regards to, I'm a big Zoe Kravitz fan, excited to see what she does in Catwoman. And you have Riley Keough, which I don't know if you guys got a chance to see The Lodge and see
I love The Lodge.
and things like that. She's a really great actress. So this was one of my first times seeing both of these actresses kind of have their, well, I guess Zoe Kravitz was, she's been in films prior to that, but this was kind of her really big film that she was involved with.
Yeah.
Hunger Games.
Yep. Or was it Divergent series? Was it the Divergent that she was in?
No, I thought she was the young sister in, or not the sister. I'm sorry. The one that dies in the first Hunger Games.
I think that Amanda Steinberg is her.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah.
The girl, she was in The Hate You Give. She was also
I think it's that one.
Because I think, like I said, I think Zoe's in which I've only saw the first Divergent, but I think Zoe's in the Divergent franchise, and then Amanda is the girl that died in the first Hunger Games, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's check that out.
Yeah, like you said, this the hand-to-hand combat right here, just two alphas going at it.
But that's the thing. Like, I look at these guys fighting, and if I need to put money on, it would be on Charlize. She looks like she could kick both their asses.
Definitely,
she's amazing.
I agree.
And you are correct with that. She was in Divergent. I had somewhere heard the story with Lenny Kravitz being involved with Hunger Games, and I had said that she was too. And I was like, well, that's a great father-daughter thing.
Right.
And I think I've heard that story a lot of times. So, whew.
It's that movie of trivia, Schmodown knowledge there.
Yeah.
Things you learn.
But to the point, we were kind of talking about the performances here, and I have a couple games that I'm going to kind of spread out throughout the stream. But the first game I want to kind of get you guys' thoughts on this, a little fun game I put together, and I would love you guys' input in this as well for those in the chat. This particular game that we're going to be playing now is called Tom Hardy versus Tom Hardy. So as Big J alluded to, and also Joe, he's a great actor. I mean, you could put the man in a mask, you could put the man in in an airplane, you could do everything with Tom Hardy. He somehow gives a great performance. So what this game is essentially for you guys is just I picked some characters that he's known for, and some of his more predominantly known for roles that he's done in his career. Just want to get you guys' thoughts on which character you like more, which character might win in a fight, so on and so forth. So first one to come up and appear, let me bring this up here on the screen. Give me a second here. And just to make sure, are you guys big Tom Hardy fans? Just to kind of double check that you guys are big fans of Tom Hardy and his work.
Sir.
Yeah, for sure. He's an amazing actor.
All right. So again, Joe and Big J, let me know which character you like more, and which character might win in a fight potentially. And also, like I said, everyone in the chat, definitely pitch in and let's have some fun times with this Tom Hardy versus Tom Hardy. So first battle, if you want to call it that, We have Tommy from, I don't know if you guys have seen The Warrior. I think it's an underrated sports film, but also just a great drama. So Tommy from The Warrior versus Bronson. I don't know if you guys have seen Bronson, a really interesting role for Tom Hardy, really interesting movie. So again, starting off with Big J. First off, have you both seen these films?
Love both of them. Big fan of both of them.
Awesome. So that makes it a lot easier to play this game. So starting with Big J, man, who do you have as far as like which character kind of spoke to you more, and which character do you think might win in a one-on-one fight between Tommy and Bronson?
So in terms of the character, like Bronson is still my favorite performance by him. I think he's just outstanding on it. So I think that character, like when he has the policeman going inside the cell and he's like getting all oiled up to fight them, and it's just. That's the first time that I really thought, oh my God, who's this guy? Mm-hmm. But Warrior is just a movie, and I completely agree with you. Like very underrated. It's an awesome movie, and it's not just about the fight; it's the drama and stuff. If I had to choose someone in a fight, I don't know. Bronson is like kind of crazy, but so was Tommy. So I would go with Tommy because. I think he's more experienced
skills, MMA skills. Even though he did, spoiler alert for those that haven't seen Warrior, he did lose the fight versus.
But it was against his brother.
His brother who trained him. Yeah, definitely.
He was taking easy on his brother.
Definitely. Nick Fulte. So, Joe, we got Big J picking Tommy for the fight, but then picking Bronson for the better character. What say you, my friend? Who do you have winning the fight, and also which character did you kind of connect to more?
I definitely agree on the front of the fight. Tommy wins that fight, but I also think that Tommy is a better character. I identified with that movie a little bit more. I'm a big fan of movies that use sports to tell an emotional story, but don't rely on the sport. And I think that that's something that director does very well with his films. So I just really like Tom Hardy in that. I think that he has that kind of like that softer side that comes through tough roles, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a prime example of one of them. I really enjoy him in that film. And I think that I think he has a leg up there.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think Tommy wins the fight. MMA, got some skills, can take out Bronson. But then as far as characters, like Big J said, this was one of my first times actually seeing Tom Hardy film and just thinking this guy is incredible. Obviously, this film, he was the lead in that movie. I would say Joel Edgerton was more the lead in The Warrior. It was more of his story, but this was, Tom Hardy through and through. He really kind of shined in that role. And again, I know it was at Luke Reviews. He said he hasn't seen either. Do yourself a favor, Luke Reviews. Check out Warrior. Check out Bronson. Two great performances by Tom Hardy and just really good movies all in all. So definitely recommend those films. So nice there. So I'm going to bring up another one here. Give me a second. So this one's going to be interesting here because it actually invokes a character that we're looking at on the screen now and a character that came out in the same year, just kind of showing the range of Tom Hardy. So this next one, we have his character, I know it was Fitzgerald. I think it was John Fitzgerald, if I'm not mistaken, in The Revenant, who kind of turned on Leo's character to survive. And then we, of course, have Max in Mad Max Fury Road. So starting again with Big J, which character did you kind of like more? And then if you were on a kind of the situation, you're in a wasteland, you need to survive, which character are you taking with you to survive and making it back home to your family?
Okay, so I need to say this, and a lot of people will get angry, but I'm not a fan of The Revenant.
Me neither.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh my God, you're the first person that I say this and don't go nuts with me.
I appreciate the filmmaking, but I just wasn't a fan of the film.
Yeah, exactly my point. Cinematography, everything is outstanding. But for me, it wasn't like the movie that Leo should have won the Oscar. I would prefer for him to have won with others. And it's the movie I don't connect. So I would have to go with Mad Max all the way in everything. Like, I want him to be with me to survive. Is the best role. I would go with Max. And he doesn't talk a lot. So it's just like, if you need to survive and you don't want to talk because you're not in the mood, he's the perfect guy to go with.
Gotcha. And then bearded film reviews went for Tommy for the last one. So on to you, Joe, in regards to first, again, have you got a chance to see, I know we were still watching Mad Max, but did you get a chance to see The Revenant? And what did you think about John Fitzgerald's villain? I guess he was like the villain, as Luke says in the film. So which character did you like more in regards to performance? And again, I know we're watching Mad Max now, but just from his performance so far, and then which character would you be taking on a road trip of survival?
I think they both are very good characters, but both very different characters. Mm-hmm. I think it really shows the range of Tom Hardy in an action movie quite like this, but then also a slower paced, tonally different movie such as The Revenant. Yeah. I do enjoy The Revenant, spoiler alert, but I think that in terms of characters, the comparison here, I think Max is definitely the one that you want to take with you on that journey that's going to win that fight, that's going to be, I think brutal enough to make it through anything. So,
and he's not going to turn on you, at least so far in the film. He looks like he's a good guy, and he'll be there by your side, unlike John Fitzgerald, who kind of left Leo to die, to be eaten up by a bear and left him to die. So a couple comments here. Revenant was a good movie, but not a masterpiece like people say. Bearded Film Review says, Luke reviews, I need to rewatch The Revenant. Remember loving it. Yeah, I've seen it. I want to say, I saw it when it first came out. And again, it goes to show, again, we're talking about the range. This film, Mad Max Fury Road and Revenant came out in the exact same year, showing you, first off, that had to be like one of the worst. I would imagine the shooting was different in regards to when he shot this film, when he shot The Revenant, but just knowing that back-to-back roles of this film, and what he went through in the dust and then in the desert, and then going to The Revenant, this man must have been psyche-wise just like all over the place. When he laid in his bed at night, it must have felt like so foreign to him because he was just playing these characters. But yeah, I need to rewatch The Revenant. I wasn't the biggest fan of the film, but check it out again because it's been a while since I saw it. Mad Max for sure in regards to the characters. So yeah, I'm in the same boat with you guys. I'm taking Max with this one. One, he was quote unquote a hero versus a villain, but I also just like Mad Max. So I'm going with Max as well for this one here. So let me bring up the next. This was the last one here. This one should be a fun one here. Let me pull it up on the screen. These characters are both in the same genre, but in the different arenas regarding whose side they come from. We got these two characters here. Again, which character was more complex? Which character do you like more in the comics? Which character you think would win in a fight? We got Brain, Villain, I'm here, Batman, versus Venom.
They understood that too well. Can you try that again?
I will repeat myself. I was born in the darkness. But we have Bane versus Eddie Brock, aka Venom. Who do you guys, again, character, which one did you like more? And also, who do you think win in a fight? Who do you got, Jay?
Well, I will just give it to Venom because I think he had like a harder job. I think the part that he got was so ridiculous and he made it work. So I think you need to give credit to that. He made it really like that buddy cop thing. And that's the thing. Like a lot of people think the voice of Venom is like worked in post-production and stuff. But that's the voice of Tom Hardy. There's no effect to it. And how he like did the like talking to himself with the two voices and stuff. I will need to give it to him. But in terms of like characters, Bane, if you've read the comics, Bane is an amazing character. He's not shown in the movie, but it's a really good character. And how he's like as clever as Batman. I think in a fight, maybe he would find a way to beat Venom. But in roles, I would give him like just for that scene of the aquarium, I'll give it to him.
Nice. Same with you, Joe, in regards to which character, which role do you think was a little bit more meatier for Tom Hardy to pull off? And then again, and then in regards to a one-on-one fight, Venom, Eddie Brock versus Bane there. Oh, did he go out?
And we're back. There we go.
Okay, gotcha.
So I think in terms of commitment to the performance, obviously his performance as Bane was really good in the sense that he had that physical transformation. It's kind of a psychotic character as well, but more, I think, directionally intent than, Well, I guess I can't say that. I'm debating with myself now about Joker and Bane, thinking about how crazy they both are. But Bane is just, he is a very intelligent character if you read the comic.
Yeah.
He really can hold his own. But I completely agree with Big J on everything that he said about Venom. I really enjoy that Venom was not supposed to be kind of the hit that it was, and I think that part of the reason it was so popular and made a lot of money was because his performance is so much fun, and he plays both the reporter character and the violent, trying to figure out like what's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing very well. And I also think in a fight, Venom completely has him.
Gotcha. Much respect. Again, I think I have to agree with you all in regards to appreciating what Tom Hardy was able to do. I don't want to say it was improv, but it seems like kind of the behind the scenes with him and Reuben Fletcher. It was some things that Tom Hardy, if it was someone else in the role, that film would have been absolutely horrendous. Yeah. But Tom Hardy has this charisma, has the gravitas to bring to this character, has the goofiness of the character. Really intrigued to see how that character is translated from an Andy Serkis movie in regards to his lens and how he handles characters and CGI and motion capture. So I'm really looking forward to see what he brings to this role. What was it, next year that is coming out now that we got pushed back? But definitely applaud that. But guys, I'm sorry. And also I think in the battle, Venom obviously has some advantages to his side, but I think Bane is just so smart. He would figure out how not only to beat Venom, but I also think the character-wise, I really, and this goes to my love to Dark Knight Rises, which I know kind of gets, in retrospect, some people don't, when you look at it from the trilogy, is probably the weakest out of the trilogy, but I really like Dark Knight Rises. I love Dark Knight Rises, I'm being honest with you guys. And, I thought Bane.
Oh, you think the darkness is your ally, but merely you adapted the dark. I was born in it. No,
that's like
I didn't choice merely a man. By then, it was nothing to me but blinding.
I love Bane, guys. That was like my Halloween that year. I was impersonating him up and down. I loved Tom Hardy in the role. Obviously, I would have loved to have seen what Heath Ledger would have did in a Joker, a follow-up to Dark Knight. But I thought that Tom Hardy did a really good job. I remember the rumors where he was going to maybe be Hugo for a while, but I'm a big Bane fan, and I got Bane for the W for this one, guys, for me personally. Yeah. But that was fun, guys. I appreciate you guys indulging me in that game. There's a couple other games I have and some other kind of trivia things regarding Charlize Theron roles, some characters, and then we're going to talk about some of our favorite action films this past decade. So that was fun, guys. I appreciate you playing along with me in that game there.
But I think that's also something that Tom Hardy, one of his talents, is he always kind of knows what movie he's in. When he's goofy, he's able to lower himself down. I don't know if you guys saw that comedy that it's with Tom Hardy and Chris
Pine and
Chris Pine, that they spies and after the same girl.
Mm-hmm.
That movie is so ridiculous, and he just plays it like he should play it, and because of him, I kind of like the movie just for what it is. But if it was someone else trying to play it serious and the tough guy and whatever, I think he really knows how to read the parts he's doing and just do enough to give the best performance for that role. And in Bane, that's exactly what he did. Mm-hmm. That part could look really ridiculous because of even the outfit. The outfit is not the best one.
Yeah, it's not book accurate by any means.
Yeah,
or that grounded Christopher Nolan approach.
So, and he made it work. So you need to give him credit.
Yeah. And I'm waiting. They have a pretty good relationship so far. Him and Christopher Nolan working on, if I'm not mistaken, 3 films together with Inception, Dark Knight Rises, and his role in Dunkirk. So I would love to get them back on the screen together, and maybe Christopher Nolan's next film. If he's not in Tenet, surprisingly, if he makes an appearance, that would be awesome. But yeah, Christopher Nolan and him definitely have a great relationship.
Have you guys had the chance to see the 15-minute special of the IMAX of Tenet?
No, I remember what.
It's amazing.
When was it? What film was it? Was it attached to? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I think it was. I don't know if it was Star Wars. I don't know. I saw it with something when I went to the IMAX, and it's like this kind of ice thing. Oh, it's just unbelievable.
They haven't. It's not online or anything, right? It was strictly
No, it was strictly for like IMAX. It's like a scene, 10, 15 minutes.
Isn't it incredible? I don't know how Christopher Nolan does it, where his stuff never leaks. Like his I remember he did the same thing with The Dark Knight Rises with
Mission Impossible, I also saw that.
Ghost Protocol. They showed the first 15 minutes of Dark Knight Rises. So I don't know how Christopher Nolan does it, where his stuff doesn't leak. He doesn't tell you much of his trailers. Like he has some type of voodoo powers to like his films never get leaked, which is incredible.
And I think that's part of his success, because I'm having, like, especially last year, I had horrible time with trailers. They ruin a lot of movies for me because they just like feel that they have to show you everything.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. It's like, I just felt like there's a lot of movies that after watching them, I just think, imagine walking into this movie, never like knowing anything about it.
Yeah.
And then say, like, did you guys saw From Dusk Until Dawn?
The original?
Yeah. So the first time I saw Dusk Until Dawn, I had no idea what it was. So I was watching this like Tarantino kind of like Killer Brothers going, and then all of a sudden a goddamn vampire just shows up, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like people that saw the trailer, like they knew it. They were the whole time thinking, when is this vampire is gonna show up? It just ruins movies. And like I think we should go again and have as little as possible, because some movies now, did you guys saw Bloodshot? They give the whole plot twist in the trailer.
Yeah, I think Joe, you just recently watched it, right, and reviewed it on your channel.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Bloodshot. You recently saw Bloodshot.
Oh yeah, I just watched that the other night.
Okay, did you saw the trailer before?
I did.
The trailer shows that he's being like, it shows the plot twist. It shows that he's being erased. His mind is being erased, and every day he's been sent to kill someone new. That's on the trailer.
Yeah, so but I'll tell you that maybe I'm just too dumb to remember that, but I completely was like, oh, what a great twist.
I was like,
long ago, that the trailers were out. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't quite catch it with that. I think there are other movies. I mean, most commonly horror movies for me that really give away the twist.
Yeah.
Black Christmas was the one that came out around
the
holiday.
teacher. Yeah, then they showed the guy from Saw. I can't remember his name right now. Was probably
That was such like that whole trailer. I was like, really? That this is what we're doing?
Yeah.
See, I'm a big trailer fan, mainly because I guess I have really short-term memory and I like forget about them right away. But
for me, and then I do a lot of I haven't done one in a while, but I used to, I love doing trailer reactions just because I think when a trailer is done right, it's an extension of the movie in regards to it tells you the story and introduces you to the, like Big J said, there's some films that like, I'm going to go see it regardless. Like, I don't need a trailer to, promote me to see another Marvel film or a horror film or a Jordan Peele. Like, there's certain directors, like, I'm going to go see a Christopher Nolan film regardless of the subject matter or whatever the case. But obviously, there are those some films, the smaller indie films that, the trailers kind of give you an idea what you're getting into. I think of a mid-90s or, Hereditary or, Lake House, things of that nature. So it's definitely, it's an art when a good trailer's cut well. But, a lot of those other movie companies might not have as much faith in their film that they got to give you every single aspect of the film.
I think you just nailed it. I think you can tell how good a film is going to be by how much is revealed in the trailer, in my opinion, because I think that when studios are afraid that there's not enough interest in the film, or maybe that the film is not even that great, they want to put enough in there that makes it look like a good film. Yeah.
And then you have some films that show you, I think of, and I'm not a big fan of this film. I mentioned it a lot of times. It Comes at Night. I thought that was going to be a horror film, and it was the complete opposite of a horror film in regards to it's more of a psychological thriller more than a horror. But that film was pitched as a horror movie, but it was, in my opinion, the complete opposite of that. But
but that's probably why you don't like it that much, because you went in with some kind of expectations, and then it was something different.
Yeah,
and I think that's the problem. Like I love It Comes at Night. But again, like I went in and I wasn't thinking, oh, this is going to be horror. But if I was, I would probably be pissed off. Like it's it's like Drive. If you saw the first trailers of Drive,
Mhm.
I thought it was going to be like Fast and Furious, and I didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see it because I thought, oh, no, not another one. Anyway, I saw Drive later, and it's nothing like the trailer. And I think that's the issue. And it's even sadder when you see that the director is trying to do something, and the trailer just ruined it. One that I had the issue was with Invisible Man. Like Invisible Man, like the whole movie is kind of making you wonder: is she crazy or is he invisible? Is she crazy? Oh no, no, she's not, because I saw in the trailer there's an invisible guy there, and it's in the title. It's called Invisible Man. But what he's trying to do is very clever. It makes you wonder if it's all in her head or not. But then, like the marketing and stuff didn't really help to do that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's definitely an art form, and some are definitely better than others in regards to how they handle it. But again, going back to a pivotal, we lost our, the immortal Joe, his main love interest, if you want to call it that, or the women that he was impregnating to make his army. They just lost a pivotal character. What's her name? Something. Whitney, Rosie, Whitney.
Rosie's. It's the one from Transformers.
Transformers, yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think she's like married to Jason Statham, and they've been together since that film. So
Rosie something, I can't remember her name.
She hasn't really been in any other films that I can think about, besides Transformers and this. But we just lost her. And again, for those that are just tuning in, just to give you a kind of refresher on where we're at in the movie, let me pull it up here.
Are we sure this isn't a Transformers spinoff?
Yeah.
You might be onto something, Joe. You might be onto something.
No, Michael Bay would have a lot more explosions than this now.
Yeah, the cars would have been talking by now.
And a lot more random dialogue.
Yeah. But yeah, for those who just tune in, we're an hour and close to an hour and 30 seconds into the film, and we got another hour left. So this is literally the first half of the film. Right at the hour mark, we've been in a car chase the entire film, and now we're going into the second half of the film, which dives more into some more dialogue, some more stuff going on with the story. So what an incredible first half of this movie. Take that down. There we go. All righty. So again, Joe, I know this is where are you at so far, man? I know we've been kind of chatting and playing some games, but just from the little bit that you've been able to pay attention to, where are you at with the film?
It's a lot. It's like an adrenaline rush. It's a lot of fun. I've been sometimes when I watch movies like this during a watch along, I put the closed captioning on, and that's been really neat to kind of establish the story a little earlier on. Because quite honestly, I do think that in visual films like this, sometimes I get lost in the visuals and don't really pay attention to the story as much.
Yeah.
But I'm really liking what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, this is just an incredible film. I really, and again, this was George Miller going back. We were talking about it up top, Big J, regarding just he's getting up there in age. Is he going back to just trying to make a film that he's familiar with? Is he really going to have the same energy he had back in the 70s and 80s when he made the original film? But this guy's a rock star. Again, this is a film that has its history. Again, we talked about the behind the scenes issues with the leads, but also it took him, I think, from 99 to when this film came out to 2015, it was in development hell, from the script to having issues. Obviously we had the big, 9/11 came up. I believe at one point in time, if I'm not mistaken, earlier this week, there was rumors that the initial casting was supposed to be Jeremy Renner and Uma Thurman in this particular roles, which would have been a completely different movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It shows you Jeremy Renner he always just gets the short end of every franchise that he's involved with or potentially involved with. But this was a passion project for George Miller, and I'm just really, really excited to see, obviously the prequel and then a follow-up to this film, hopefully in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he's going to do with the prequel. But that just shows how much the character of Furiosa was so engaging in this movie, because instead of doing another Mad Max, he's decided to do on that one. Yeah, and I think that's something also a lot of franchises could learn, that they don't need to be milking the same cow over and over again.
No pun intended.
No,
Yeah.
like they can just like try and pick up characters that have something more interesting to tell than just going after the same ones. And this is something we were talking the other day. I'm like, I'm tired of. I love Batman. He's one of my favorite characters. But how many times are we going to see his parents getting shot in an alley and doing it again and again and again? I think it's time to start doing things a little bit more original, because I think it's a bigger risk. But when it works, and this is a proof of it. So I'm curious to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. I mean, and I would love to get your thoughts on this, Joe, regarding, we were talking about, Star Wars last week. We were on a watch along for the Han Solo film. And you look at a film like this that had an established character, Mel Gibson in the role, very iconic role, but Tom Hardy was able to pull off something that maybe other actors weren't able to pull off, which is, filling in big shoes. So again, going back to the approach of this film, do you agree that Hollywood should use this as a template to, find creative stories, bring in great actors, and you get stuff like this?
I think that's a loaded question. The reason I say that is because I'm never a fan of recasting unless it's absolutely necessary. I think in this case, given the time between the films, it makes a lot of sense. It's, it's fine. It is what it is. And the story was great around it. So you kind of lose, unless you are a Mad Max purist from the beginning, you kind of lose sight of the fact that it was recast early on. Yeah. But I think that what Hollywood needs to do, and this does go back to some of the conversations we had during the Solo watch along, and I've even talked about this with the way that Marvel got started and DC and even some of the other larger franchises, is go back and look at the characters that really connected, the characters that have the potential for an interesting backstory or even interesting story in the future, and develop the property around them. I like it or not, that's what the Hunger Games are doing, as we were just talking about them a little bit with, there's a new book coming out this summer that's focusing on the start of the Hunger Games and their president, President Snow, when he was a kid. And I think that's an interesting dynamic there. Like they started that story years into this odd, crazy, annual challenge. And you don't really get an understanding or a full understanding of how everything came to be. So I think that that's something that we could see a lot more of, because I think that the writers and, those who thought up these ideas definitely have a lot more story to tell. Right. What makes it onto the screen and what makes it into a script is just a small percentage of probably the overall property.
I think it's stuck.
I'm stuck, frozen.
Got me now?
Yep. There you go.
I ended with could be developed. I don't know if that came through.
Yeah. Set the properties and where they kind of where they're at with everything.
Yeah, I mean, you have to explore the full property and see what else there is, other stories there are to tell. And we talked about that with Star Wars, that with you have all these movies that focus on the same family and their dealings. But you've established that it's a huge galaxy. Or galaxies. So go ahead and check that out. Like, let's explore what else is going on and not just focus on a siloed vision.
Right. No, I agree. And I guess I would love to get you guys' thoughts too, kind of in the same vein of this conversation with, the older IPs. I think of Halloween, I think of Terminator, with the whole idea of, we're going to start off at the last good film, part 2 for Halloween, or I'm sorry, the original Halloween, or taking off of T2. How do you guys feel about that approach with certain films, regarding just erasing, all these other films and just going right into where the last one, the more well-received one than some of the trilogies are? Are you guys a big fan of what Hollywood's doing there?
Yeah, I think it's like it depends on each case is different, but we have other media doing that. If you like a big fan of comic books, they've done that all the time. When things start getting too complicated and no one knows what the hell is going on anymore, they just start over. Right. And I think that's no problem. Like, as long as the story is good, I prefer to see a movie that says, look, all those other movies you didn't like, forget that. Now we're going to tell this story. If the story is good and it works, I don't care. But now if they go back and they still do the same crap and they repeat the same mistakes, for example, like we were talking about the X-Men before, if you go and do the story of the Dark Phoenix twice and the second time you do the same mistakes as the first one, that's what gets me angry. It's not that you tried it again. If it was an amazing movie, I would be like, whoa, that was great. But no, they got the same guy that wrote the first one. It's like they're joking. They got the guy that wrote the first one, and they said, let's put the same guy doing the same story, just a little bit different. But this time, let's let him direct. So it's like, come on. Like, it's like they were trying to spend money. I don't know if there was some kind of like, because they wanted to screw it to Disney. Because
who cut out there? Was that me?
Yeah, sorry. But I don't know if it was like Disney bought us. Now let's give them this huge flop and laugh at them. I don't know if it was something like that. But if they do the story right, I don't care. Halloween, I liked what they did.
Yeah.
Then I just think Hollywood has a problem. They never know when to stop.
Yeah.
Like if they go back and they do a movie and it kind of works, then they have to do 5 more. And they don't have a story that they originally thought about it. And then they have to try, how are we going to do this? Oh, let's go and get this guy and do a prequel. And it's like Extraction. Extraction was a good movie. Okay, I had fun, but I don't need another one. I don't need now to know. Like, that's the thing that bothers me. They just milk everything out.
Yeah.
And TV shows are even worse. Like, they just keep on going until they have no audience. So I think we just need to learn with that. Just make something good and then move on to something else.
No, I totally agree.
I think again, it goes to the creative process. You know, I'm reading a book right now on on the history of the Disney company, and mainly focusing on when Eisner took over and kind of the restructuring of the entire organization. And one of the things that he did with films is focusing on the creative process and trusting the creative process. And I think that that's something that, you know, with Disney in particular, you can see they've gotten away from that because they're rehashing their old films and turning them into live action.
Right.
He always freezes on the best frames.
I know.
you always frame on the best frame. Like,
it's killing me.
It's always with your eyes like you got to sleep. And we don't know if you fall asleep or something.
But going back to that, I think that, you know, what you're seeing is that a focus on the creative process is really great and really beneficial and going to be received well, and hopefully will lead to larger box office returns. But ultimately, it's all about the bottom line. It's all about the money, and that's what we saw with however many sequels we got to.
Hello? It's froze again.
Yeah. You there, Joe? But yeah, in regards to just kind of I agree with what both of you guys said as far as the creative input. Is he coming back in? Here, let me let him know to maybe come out and come back in. Joe, if you can hear us, I'm going to come back in, man. I'm going to go ahead and take it from the stream and just come back into the stream when you get a chance. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that too in regards to just be creative. You know, we have a lot of these franchises. I think of, you know, Indiana Jones. Like I just can't believe they're doing a 5th one with Harrison Ford and was it James Mangold is now going to be directing, which that does get me a little bit excited there. But it just they just need to let some of these things just go on, move on with the past, and bring in some more creative outlet and some different stories.
But this is the thing, like, he's now, James Mangold is now like the guy, if you want to do a movie with an old guy, after Logan and after, like, you go, this is the other thing is, like, someone did something cool, they go and pick him up and say, hey, you know that movie you did?
Do it again.
Do that
again
with this guy. And that's the problem. Like James Gunn now is like, oh, you know that really cool movie you did with a group of superheroes, and they're a little bit, so do Suicide Squad, like do the same. And that's the thing. We don't get like new voices trying new approaches to things. We just get the same. But honestly, I think it's our fault. We can't complain because as an audience, that's what people go and see. That's where people spend the money. So when people complain about Disney and they say, oh, Disney, they just like do the same things. Yeah, they had 6 or 7 movies last year that crossed $1 billion.
Right.
Ad Astra, that was one of the most unique movies I ever saw. Like at a $200 million budget almost. Did nothing in the box office. And he had huge reviews, everyone saying it was really good, everyone like talking about it. You go and see the box office and it's ridiculous. So people like say, oh, we want something original. But then they say, oh, that movie, well, I'll watch it when it gets to VOD or Netflix or something. Oh, the new Lion King, that's exactly the same. It's not even live action because it's like a different kind of animation. Oh, let's all go and see that. So it's our fault. It's like, that's why they don't risk more and they don't do movies like this. This movie should have done more than 300 million.
Totally agree.
Like Venom did 800 million. So like just comparing one with the other, look at this movie and it did 300 and something million. And then you have like things like Frozen or that's what gets me angry. That like people complain, but it's us. It's our money that makes them decide. If like these movies start making $1 billion, all these original movies, they will give them the money to do it. If you look at Nolan only has the amount of money to do something like Tenet because he did Inception, and Inception did like 800 million or something. If he didn't, he wouldn't have that. He did Batman. So it's our fault. So we can't really complain.
No, I agree. And just kind of get you up to speed, Joe, we were just kind of talking about just the risk taking or lack of risk taking in the Hollywood and landscape now with original IPs versus rinse, recycle, repeat, and Disney movies making $1 billion. Even though people are rehashing or revisiting, a Lion King film or Frozen 2 versus a film like Mad Max making $375 million versus a same actor Tom Hardy making $800+ million in Venom. So it's definitely an interesting landscape that we're in regarding to people want original stories, but then they don't go out to support the original stories. They just wait till it comes out on Blu-ray or VOD. So, and that's going to completely change after now with COVID-19 regarding the movie going experience and what films are going to now hit streaming versus hit a theatrical run. That's going to be really, really interesting to see once everything kind of gets back to normal, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think cinemas will have like a fight in their hands because they will have to. Because that's the thing. Sometimes people like us that like live movies every day and watch so many movies, we don't realize. I was completely amazed that the average of people going to the cinema in America is like 2 movies a year. 2 movies a year. Yeah. I usually go and see 4 movies a week when movies are on.
Yeah.
And that's what we don't understand. We think it's completely normal to go to the cinema. We think it's completely normal to watch movies like Whiplash, that I thought it was a movie that everyone saw. I thought it was like those movies. Like I talk with people and no one saw that. It's like we live in a bubble and we don't understand that people don't see a movie if it's subtitled. I have friends that don't see a movie if it's more than 10 years old. If you tell them to see a movie from, have you ever saw Jaws? They're like, oh, where did that come out? Oh, in the 70s. Oh, God, no. Not watching that. So that's the thing. That's why they do remakes, because they could pick up the old movie, put it back in the cinemas, but people won't go and see it. But if you do the same thing, put new actors on, and people go and see. Like same goes with like if they did Parasite tomorrow, a remake in like with American actors, it would make more money than the original. I'll bet you whatever you want. And that's what's sad about it, but it's what people do.
Yeah, and it's funny. They're actually it's not going to be the movie, but
A TV show.
TV show, yeah, with HBO, and we'll see what comes of that. But no, really interesting conversation regarding just how the audience, takes in the movies and how they take in media, and again, once everything kind of gets back to normal, which I don't think it'll ever get back to normal, if I'm being honest, but. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with, again, streaming versus theatrical releases and what we see at the theater moving forward. Can you hear us, Joe? Can you hear me?
Back in action.
Okay, awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Good. Excellent.
All good, my friend.
I do not know what is happening over here.
Technology not being your friend at night.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Can we get a time check?
Yeah. Let me bring that up. So, give me a second here. Yeah, you were mentioning it, Big J, in regards to just I'm so fascinated to see what they do with this prequel.
Yeah.
What angle they take? Are we going to see her when she was around, these women that she's back to now, her home people? Are we going to see how she was captured and taken by Immortal Joe? It's going to be really, really interesting to see what they do with that story.
If we get a scene like in Solo that she gets really angry, and that's why she called Furiosa.
Perfect. That would be the perfect scene.
That's going to be the one.
Yeah.
That makes me furious. Huh?
Furiosa.
Yeah. That I kind of like Solo, but that part was just like, oh, come on.
Creativity, the creative, whoever thought of that is just genius. They need a payroll.
That's what I'm saying. I would love to be in this, when they think about these things and someone gets up and say, look, I have the perfect idea. Imagine if he says, are you flying solo? like, come on. Isn't there anyone in the room that goes like, oh, shut up. No.
Or if they do, they get fired for speaking their mind.
Yeah, it was probably the boss and everyone. Yeah. That's brilliant.
I mean, it's probably Lord and Miller that probably that is a dumb line, and Kathleen Kennedy heard that and cut him loose.
Yeah.
But kind of going back to now we're meeting people. We're seeing what happened with Home and the Green Place, and we talked about it numerous times in the stream. How amazing of an actress Charlize Theron is, and she just continues to evolve. She takes on these different roles. She becomes the character. Which brings me to another game here, very similar to Tom Hardy versus Tom Hardy. We have something very similar versus Charlize Theron versus Charlize Theron. So again, kind of the same rules apply. Which character did you enjoy more? Which character would you like to take on a fight or on a journey with you? So we're going to play a couple characters she's played in the past, and we'd love to get you guys' thoughts on these characters. So first on the list here, let me bring up our first batch of characters with Charlize Theron. Let me make sure I got it queued up here. And again, have you guys seen both of these movies? I'm going to start with you, Big J. What's your thoughts on these characters? And who do you think wins in a car race?
In a car race.
We got Cypher from Fast and Furious, and then Stella, I believe her name was, from the Italian Job in 2003. Again, have you seen both films, Big J?
Yeah, both.
What about you, Joe? Have you seen Fast and Furious 8 and the Italian Job?
No, I've seen the Italian Job.
Okay,
I have not seen Fast and the Furious 8.
Gotcha.
So you missed the best kiss ever with her and Vin Diesel.
Hard pass.
And this Vin Diesel turning on his on family. You missed all that.
That's the most range he ever has.
But did you guys saw the whole interview that Vin Diesel is saying that for sure that was the best kiss of Charlize Theron's life?
Oh no, I didn't see that. No.
Oh, okay. So it was on an interview, he said, "Oh yeah, she loved it. I bet it was the best kiss." So then on another interview to her, someone asked her, and she went, "What? It was like a dead fish."
Yeah, he looks like a crash dummy.
Yeah,
it does.
But it was so funny because she was just what? She didn't even try and be nice. She just went for it's like a dead fish.
Good for her.
Yeah.
I love her.
But going back, so Big J, and I would love to know again, who do you think and who would win in a car race since they
it would be Cypher because she would cheat for sure.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like she can like control the other cars, like we see in the movie, and getting in front of her and just crashing her. So yeah, she like in the Fast and the Furious, she's quite a cool character. I think they pull her off really well because I think she would win easily because she would cheat for sure.
Definitely. And then I guess just from a visual standpoint, Joe, in regards to hairstyle, who looks cooler? So I know you have Charlize Theron in Fast and Furious 8, but which character are you thinking like, man, that's an interesting character? Who do you think wins the look contest in regards to just interesting looking characters?
I mean, she's aged very well, and she has that behind the scenes. On the left, there's that looks like G.I. Joe behind it, like
some Arsenal
Snake Eyes mask or whatever. So I think on the left she looks really badass, and I'd probably go with that one.
Nice.
I also, side note, just want to draw attention to the color palette right now on screen. It is absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing.
It's blue.
Again, this film deserved every technical award that it got during the when it had its award seasons 5 years ago. So, all right, so we got Cypher on that battle there. Let me bring out my next pair of characters here.
Just talking about the aging. Have you guys ever saw a movie called Sweet November with Charlize Theron and Keanu Reeves? They look exactly the same. The movie is about 20 years old. Really? They both look exactly the same as today. It's freaky. Those two guys did a deal with the devil.
Yeah, I was going to say they were both in a movie with the devil. So I mean, it makes sense that they made a deal with them. So
it's crazy. I saw the other day. They look exactly the same as today.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible.
I wish I had that.
I know, right? But going back to some other characters here, both assassins. I hope you guys have seen both films. I think we talked about earlier in an Aeon Flux. That's a great movie. But who do you, again, Big J, which character did you like more? I think this is going to be a pretty easy one, but I'm not surprised. But who wins the fight? Who's the better character?
Atomic Blondes. Like
I think her name was Lorraine.
I think it was Lorraine. But it's not even like, that Aeon Flux is such a weird movie.
Early 2000s, man. That's what they were doing back then in regards to bringing in some interesting characters to the screen, man.
There's such weird things like the girl that has hands instead of feet or feet instead of hands. It's like, why the hell do you need that? It doesn't help you at all. But no, but Atomic Blonde, I think she kicked ass in Atomic Blonde. It was like awesome. And what I liked is like you kind of seeing her getting hurt. It's not that kind of like hero that kind of reminds me of John McClane. She gets to the end of the movie and she's completely like better. And I think that's what gives the realism of things. Like, and I think she was really, really good movie. There's talks about doing a second one for Netflix.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, which I would love to see what they do there and see who they attach to it. But yeah, I like Atomic Blonde. It didn't have as much action as I thought it was advertised, but I still enjoyed the journey. As you had mentioned, Sophia Boutella, great character, and James McAvoy, really good cast. But yeah, that scene in the hallway, like you just mentioned, just the back and forth and characters out of breath and just brutal fight. But Joe, going back, are you familiar with both characters in both films?
I'm familiar with both films. I have not seen either one of them.
No need to see Aeon Flux. Don't waste the time.
I will tell you here that what is making me laugh right now is if you look at these two pictures and you replace Charlize Theron, her face, with Angelina Jolie's, you have Salt on the left, and you have I'm not quite sure on the right, but it's totally an Angelina Jolie haircut. But I think she looks more badass on the left. I think on the right she looks like she's out of place with that poor CGI background.
Yeah, that movie was terrible, man. Atomic Blonde's a really good watch, and again, I do hope they do make a sequel because she was a fascinating character, and it'll be really interesting to see what they do. But in the vein of just kind of reference, Joe, and far as what you get into with this film, think of very John Wick-ish in regards to the gun fu and the hand-to-hand combat and the choreographed fights. It's a really really interesting spy film that I would recommend checking out for sure.
It's funny that Netflix is going for the sequel, and I think that that's something we're going to see with Netflix more and more. More action. I think that they can put their money towards bringing in the right people to deliver on the action, and not have to worry about the scripts and all that quite as much, or the dialogue, I should say. You still need a script to guide the story, but they haven't really done well with the dialogue outside of movies they've acquired, like, you know, The Irishman and Marriage Story.
Yeah, I agree. So we got Atomic Bond, Laureen character winning this one here, and then my last one here that I have pulled up that I'm going to bring up in just a second. One involves a film that we're watching now. Another character, I think a film that doesn't really get talked about that much. We got Furiosa versus, I believe her character's name was Mary in Hancock. Her and Will Smith and Jason Bateman back in, I want to say 2000. Let me look it up here, see if I can find it. Where's Hancock? When did that come out? Have you guys seen both these? Obviously, we're watching Mad Max, but did you guys see Hancock with her and Will?
Yeah. That was a movie that I think it was a really big missed opportunity, because I think
100%.
Yeah, the idea of the movie is really good. Like, and Will Smith could really play it better, I think. But the way it was addressed, it wasn't the best one. But that all, like, what do you do when you feel alone? Like, I always think that about Superman. Like, if you're that powerful, you don't have anyone like you on this hurts. Like, would you always be that nice guy? Would you never get angry? Would you not get depressed? And I think that was a really, like, big opportunity they missed with trying to make it too funny. I think they could have put some of the comedy away and just make it a little bit more of the drama that it was there.
Right.
And they had a great cast: Will Smith and Charlize Theron and what's his name? Jason Bateman. They were great character. Like, they could do so much better. But yeah, I would say Furiosa here. In a fight, she wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah,
because the other one is like this, can do it all. But as characters, Furiosa is a lot more interesting than what they did in that movie. It could be better, but they didn't took it.
Gotcha. And same with you, Joe. This film, so Hancock came out in 2008, and her character was named Mary. So regarding of, kind of going off what Big J said, what did you think about her character in Hancock? And, so far from what you're seeing from Mad Max, which character are you more interested in and has a little bit more meat on the bone?
It's definitely Furiosa. I 100% agree with what Big J said. I think the fact that I completely forgot that she was in Hancock until you just brought that up again speaks for itself.
Yeah.
But I also agree with the way that Big J was describing the misgivings of Hancock. It really, there were some missteps there, and they did not really fulfill what that film could have been, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I remember too, it was supposed to get a sequel, which it kind of opened itself up to. And those are just, Will Smith, not to get off topic with, Charlize Theron, but Will Smith he picked some interesting films. This is funny. We were talking about Netflix. I know the other day, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Emily Blunt, they had I think it's called Ball and Chain, which is like a superhero, a marriage couple that are getting married and they get these superpowers, and Netflix picked it up. So I think that would be like kind of a modern day version of maybe what Hancock was trying to do with those actors. So it'd be really interesting to see what we got there. But yeah, I got one in that one.
And those actors together, I mean, apparently Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt are just like incredible together in Jungle Cruise from everything I've been reading.
Yeah.
And I love Emily Blunt. I think she's incredible. So I'm excited to see what they deliver with that. And I like when two actors find chemistry and want to continue to work well together.
Definitely.
I don't think we'll see that from Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy here, but
yeah. Or who knows? I mean, we'll see. Again, not giving too much away about how this film ends, but I will, if things do play out right and we maybe see these characters in the future, it would be really interesting to see if they both come back, if one comes back, if they recast it. It'll be really interesting to see what happens in the future. But now back, like I said, we had about a 15-20 minute part in the movie where the story kind of slows down just a little bit, and we get a little bit more character moments, a little bit more character development. But we're now back on the road, and Sanity's on. We're on to the first half again was more of a chase, or I'm sorry, a big car chase, and now we're just it's more of a race now. So it's just amazing though how these cars survive. Mine is always in the garage with the minimal thing. This guy is like.
I just think cars must have got really better in the future because look at that. They
Yeah.
keep on going.
They do. They
Are you a crazy driver, Big J?
No, not at all. But like everything, everything just happens to my car. I don't know. It's just like everything. So it's always, I don't know anything about cars, nothing at all. So when I go to the garage, I just think that they must like fix one thing and break another to get me back again because I'm always there. And these guys, look at this. They're just in the sand, they everywhere. And
that female that we just saw get killed off. I can't remember that actress' name. Was she the one that was casted as Wonder Woman in George Miller's Immortals? Justice League Immortal. I can't think of the actress' name, but she looked like, because if I remember the consensual art and everything they made for Immortals, I think that's the same actress.
It could be. I'm not very sure. I know a couple of actors that were on it, but Wonder Woman, I'm not very sure who she was supposed to be.
I can't remember. I can't remember her name in this movie because she really didn't get the most meatiest role.
Yeah, but those projects that never happen. I would love to live in a alternative world and just like get to see these movies.
Oh yeah,
like Superman with Nicolas Cage is up there in the one I would love to see.
Yeah, that story.
that was not. Did you guys ever saw Kevin Smith explaining what the movie was going to be?
Yeah,
it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
He was saying the producer just wanted a big spider. That in every like pitch, he was like, "Oh, what if we get a big spider in here?" He just wanted to have a big spider in the movie somewhere, and he was always trying to put it in. It was hilarious, that pitch.
That movie would have set back Superman for decades. That film.
Oh, this is the part I was telling you about. This is Cirque du Soleil guys doing this in moving cars. Okay, no CGI. But like real people doing this. It's incredible. Look at this. Look at this. Like it's
ridiculous.
It's quite something.
I can't even imagine how much you would have to pay me to even try something like that.
I know, right?
It's ridiculous.
Well, and also the editing goes unnoticed a little bit here, but it's just phenomenal how they put this whole thing together. Because thinking about all the different camera shots we're seeing, it's absolutely wild. And I'm definitely someone that I think, focusing on Guy at the Movies has really ruined me for enjoying movies for what they are in a lot of ways, because I tend to try to catch mistakes and try to catch inconsistencies, and I haven't seen one yet.
Look at this scene, like Jesus Christ! It's like when I see things like this, like I don't know if you guys sometimes feel this. It's the same like I've been watching some of the interviews you've been doing, Guy at the Movies, like of the quarantine, and I just feel like, what have I done with my life? Because I've done nothing like this. Like I watched something like this, and like. The other day I was seeing one of your interviews, and the guy was 30-something, and he was like, created his, like, was working with Disney and this and that. I was thinking, God's sake, just I get really angry with these guys that can do everything, Oh, I'm a musician and an actor and a writer, and I just keep something for other people. Like it's like, it's incredible.
Dan's my age, and he's been working on this one project for 11 years, signed an overall deal with Disney and all this stuff. And I'm like, cool. Well,
what was it? The Blue Demon? Was that the character name that he?
Yeah.
The Blue Demon, Ultraviolet, and the Blue Demon coming to Disney Channel at some point.
Yeah, that's incredible. And by the way, too, a quick plug for both of you guys. Again, guys, check out On YOLO movie blog. Him and his daughter got some great content, great community that they've built. So definitely give them a follow and support their content. And again, Joe, man, you've been doing some really good interviews, man. Like last week with the director, and then this week with the writer-director. I mean, it's a lot of great people, man. I'm looking forward to your interview with the gentleman tomorrow.
Yeah, they've been fun. It's the neatest part is just learning from different people. And the one thing, actually, my sister-in-law said it to me about David Raymond the other night, the director of Night Hunter. It's just very chill. And like the best type of conversations or interviews, so to speak, are the ones where you don't really have to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
And that was just a conversation. He was very forthcoming, and you learn a lot about the behind the scenes stuff of what we all enjoy. And
Yeah.
I think that's God, could you imagine talking to like George Miller here?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like from what I've been seeing, like these guys that are really talented and they know they're talented and they don't need to prove anything to anyone.
Mhm.
They usually like the easiest guys to talk with because they're not they're not afraid that they might teach you something and you might compete. I like this year I had the opportunity to talk with Ari Aster because he was here for like this horror festival.
Mhm.
And the guy was like just talking about everything you could imagine, every question in detail, and he was really open to it. And it just showed that he knew that by helping other people and talking with them, he never knows what he's going to get is the feedback and probably help him out. And I think that's what I've been seeing in your interviews is that it's like they're not trying to just plug what they done and like, oh, buy my movie, see my movie. No, they want to talk how hard it is. And I think that's more important than anything. And when you open with it, like, and with the questions people do and you don't try and bullshit, it was really funny. They were asking Ari Aster because in Hereditary, he changed a bit of the symbols to kind of evocate the demon, and someone that reads books like that in the audience asked him, why did you change that? Are you a believer in satanic cults?
Mhm.
And he was like, no, not at all. But just in case, you never know, so I changed it. And everyone was like, it was like a moment that you thought, like, this guy is just like us. He's doing a movie, but he doesn't know. He doesn't want to, like, call a spirit by mistake. So he changed a couple of things. And he was really honest, like the process and everything. And I think people like this, if you talk with someone like George Miller, I'm sure he would be really open to talk about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think they're even the more fun conversations is when you hear about what didn't go right.
Yeah.
And the reasons why, because I don't think we hear about that enough, but I think it's way more common than we expect.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like I'm waiting for that Tell-All book for some of the Disney stuff with Lord and Miller and how that went behind the scenes, and obviously Zack Snyder most recently, and even David Ayer. Just all those stories of how these creators don't get their project done. It always just baffles me too, like how the pitches go when you meet a producer or meet a director, meet a writer, and they give you their vision. They get pre-production, they get the actors attached, they go to shoot it, and then all of a sudden things don't work out. Like, where was the ball dropped from that initial meeting to the production and going into, going green? It's just so crazy to me.
God, this guy in the guitar, he must be so tired by now.
Oh yeah,
he's been playing that guitar since the start. It must be
such a great the composer too, XXL Junkie too, is such a great composer, and just so, again, rock and roll score, and it has it's a character in itself, this score of this film.
This is just, again, an adrenaline rush. Like, it never lets up.
Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning. Where's the plot of this? Where's the complicated story? It's right. Like them driving around and someone chasing him. And when they got to an end, they decide, oh, let's go back, and everyone goes back. And that's what I mean. You don't need to complicate things. And I think that's the problem with like specialist sequels of superheroes. They always think they need to up the game. And if there was one villain, now we need two. If there was like a big fight sequence, now we need to have three. And then it just starts like losing the story and stuff. But this one, I don't know, like if they do another one, how they can like up this. It's almost impossible. I think that's why they're going back, because they just thought, are we gonna like do a movie with more action than this?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be impossible.
Definitely. It's always funny too, with prequels. Like, obviously, when they shot the film, probably 2013, 2014, but they're going to be shooting a prequel that has newer technology and newer cameras and all that stuff. It's just like, it's always interesting to me when prequels come out, some odd years from the original, and how more advanced we are now, but they have to make things look older. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like this looks like timeless because of not having CGI. I find amazing when I see movies like Aliens, like Alien, and that ship looks so real. And compare with some of the movies that get out now, that everything looks so fake.
Right.
It's like it was an art lost in time, and people now don't know how to do it anymore. Because even the original trilogy of Star Wars, like the ships and everything look a lot better than the ones, for example, in the prequels. And I don't understand why we keep using CGI. Like, I don't know if it's a cost factor or something, but CGI really doesn't do the same trick as this.
Yeah, I think it's one of those gifts and a curse, right? These budgets get higher and higher and higher, and they just feel like they have to use it towards the visual effects and have to use it towards VFX, where they should just go back to the, like you just mentioned, the practical effects. That's why I love like a Guillermo del Toro and handles his films, and all the people that just appreciate the getting their hands dirty and doing the practical effects and the horror films, action films. And I think, in this new batch of directors we got in the last decade, I'm hoping that, that we get back to that old school filmmaking.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that the compliance attorney in me is like, oh my God, the insurance policy on this film must have been huge.
Insane.
Like, what injuries occurred? How did they handle all? Oh gosh.
Again, like I said, just even can't recommend enough. Watch the behind the scenes and how much, number one, the stunts that the actual actors did, and again the stunt people that jumped in. It has to be one, and it goes in the history books for just how they were able to accomplish this film and how they were able to just everything that came with it. The difficulty.
They never have once stopped for gas.
No, they put the gas while they ride.
Yeah.
If you saw in the scene before, in those holes that are on top of the car, they go there and they put the gas inside there so they can keep on going.
Yeah.
They explain the plot holes.
Everything's figured out. And I mean, and going back to the simplicity of the story, there's still, we're still seeing character arcs, from Mad Max film until where we're at now. Same with Furiosa and same with the Brides. I mean, he's still able to still have character moments within this constant movement of this action.
And before, when you were saying about the insurances, I think there was a stunt double that died in this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think, or at least he got hurt really bad.
Yeah, I'd imagine that for sure.
So like in terms of, there he goes. That's where you put the gas. Now you can't put the gas anymore.
Witness me. Again, even a great little character arc for Nuke's character or Knox. I mean, from where he came from to where he's at now. Just George Miller, man, did a great job with this movie.
Wow.
Well, that's the thing. Like after this, I thought we would have a lot more movies like this, but still today, this is completely like groundbreaking, and nothing like this. I can't think of anything like this that was done after. So that's the thing. Sometimes when we talk about movies that are influential and we want to believe they are, but in the end, it's not. In the end, it's like studios forget it unless they make $1 billion. Studios forget that this was awesome and everyone loved it, and it just keeps going.
That shot of the sun and everything reminded me of who are you, Max Skywalker.
Well, I'm trying to think too. What was the last big original film that really did do a pretty good killing at the box office? Can you guys think of something? Not a reboot or rehashing or sequel. What was the last?
Well, the biggest one was Inception. That's like the ones that
of recent memory.
I don't know. I can't remember when Inception is from, so I don't know if.
2010.
Well, Inception was 2010. Yeah, but wasn't there something that came out like 2 years ago or a year ago that was like a really big original IP that really cleaned it up?
I know.
What was it?
Big original one.
Gotta look it up. See if I can figure it out.
The Greatest Showman? No, I'm kidding.
Original
Hey, don't make fun of that movie.
I will never make fun of that movie.
I've seen it so many times.
Same.
Like Little J saw it in the cinema at least 10 times. And she went to the versions. I don't know if you guys have it in the States, but in the UK there's the sing-along.
Yep.
Yeah, so she like absolutely knows every song in that movie. It's such a fun movie.
Weren't sing-alongs.
Yeah. No, it's such a fun movie. Like, say whatever you want. It's just one of those movies that it's really like it gets you inspired. Like those songs. Yeah.
So here's a list of the top 10 original movies domestic gross. You have 175 from Jordan Peele's Us, 141 million with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 105 million from Hustlers, 96 million from Rocket Man, 93 from Ford v Ferrari, 83 from Good Boys, 73 from Yesterday, and then 67 from Knives Out. So
these are just last year's.
Mm-hmm.
That's really like, but like when you read that, that's really sad. I'm sorry. This is what I mean. Like Knives Out, everyone like said it was amazing, and everyone talked about it, and it didn't even cross 100 million. Then you get Frozen 2. Frozen, like I hate Frozen. Like I don't get why. It's not even like for the movie itself. My anger is that there's so many better movies that never like made even close to what that movie made, and I just can't understand. And that's the thing. Like all those original movies, and the highest one we get was 140,000.
Yeah, domestically. Yeah, it was Us was 175.
175.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I think Knives Out did. I know internationally. I think it did. Like even though I totally agree with you, I think it only did like 200 like worldwide domestic box. But yeah, it just goes to our point about just originality and how people don't support these films in regards to original IP. But you had mentioned earlier too, Big J, in regards to the average person. Knives Out worldwide grossed 309 million. Worldwide is domestic, or it's worldwide numbers. But yeah, the people nowadays, at least in the US, like you had mentioned earlier, two movies a year, and it's typically the big movies, Avengers, Star Wars, but all the other independent films, VOD, streaming, iTunes, so.
Yeah, I was doing like a post for like Instagram, and it was about A24, and I was shocked to see their box office.
Really?
Is just ridiculous. Like their box office, like can't even tell you, but like the highest grossing movie ever of A24 worldwide, I think it doesn't even cross 200 million. And that's like we're talking about. And then you have Blumhouse. So that's what I'm saying. We can't complain. It's our fault as an audience what we're getting. So like it's the same of complaining about McDonald's.
What were you saying, Joe?
It's also about distribution as well. So where the not A24 movies are not widely distributed as they should be, especially in the States. And I can speak from experience with living in, a city like Philadelphia and PA for a while, and then moving to central Pennsylvania. Sometimes I have to drive an hour and a half to find a theater that would play The Lighthouse or, something else from an indie. So the distribution is just not there, unfortunately. And I wonder how much pressure should be put on some of the larger distributing or the larger theater chains to improve that.
But the thing is, like, if there was demand, the cinemas will put it. Cinemas want to make money. So that's the thing. I think they tried it loads of times. So I'm looking here. So A24 domestically, their biggest hit is Hereditary,
Yeah.
and he made 80 million.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was a movie that everyone was talking about. Everyone was saying, "Oh my God, go and see it." And then you have things like Annabelle, or whatever movies those are.
The Conjuring universe.
Yeah, The Conjuring is good. I'm not gonna say about The Conjuring, but The Conjuring is good. But
Yeah.
all the other ones around it,
Yeah.
and they make twice as that. So I don't know. I just find it really hard to explain.
But I think a lot of the problem that you're going to see there is that, Hereditary was talked about a lot, right? But by that point, it had already been in the theaters. The distribution wasn't as large as it should have been.
Yeah.
The marketing isn't the best for A24 or any of the smaller distributors. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I totally agree with you. I think that, they're some of the best films that we've seen in the past few years.
Yeah.
But I just don't know what the answer is there when you have companies like Disney that's consolidating a lot of the larger, film companies, and ultimately responsible for like at least one large release a month that dominates the box office for weeks on end.
No. And in this conversation is definitely only just the beginning with everything with COVID-19, with the theatrical releases for, you think of Scoob and, Trolls 2, and who knows moving forward, what the future looks like for these independent films, and, family fun films and everything of that nature. It's going to be interesting, guys. Really, really interesting. So we just wrapped up the film. Really great ending, as Joe, you just saw the first time through. We'll talk about kind of final thoughts of the film here in a bit, but just kind of starting off with Big J. What did you think of this film 5 years later? Where does it stand for you? I know we were talking through most of the time, but does it still hold up for you? Just kind of what's your thoughts on Mad Max Fury Road?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of it has to do with the practical effects, and that's what makes it timeless. Things were really happening on screen. So even like 10, 15 years later, you don't see it and think, oh my God, that didn't age well, because they were doing the things. So I think it looks as good as it did when I first saw it. And like I said, now I can enjoy it more, because the first time I saw it, I was very into, I want to see the next story of Mad Max. And then I saw it, and he was like, well, Max is not on this a lot. He's not really, he's like sharing the screen time a lot. And okay. So I was a bit, but now that I got over that, and I wasn't also like grabbed on that expectation of getting more of that story, I think this movie is probably one of the best of its kind. It's hard to find another movie that shows this post-apocalyptic world as good as this, because it's the details. It's from the costumes, the production, the cars, like everything seems like it was made for this movie with extreme detail. And I think it's going to hold on as one of the best examples for a long, long time.
Couldn't agree more. And Joe, again, man, first time all the way through again. I know we were kind of interacting and having some great conversations and thinking about movies and other films, but just from what you were able to gather from the film, and I know you'll probably rewatch it, more of a, isolated version of this film and enjoy it. But just from what you're able to see, man, kind of what your thoughts on the film are. Are you excited for a prequel for Furiosa and see where they go, and obviously maybe a sequel to this?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely interested in seeing more. It's really funny because while this is a 2-hour movie, you're focused on such a minute piece of the story, and it's you're like you broke it down into the car chase and then the race. It's fascinating that they were able to make a full film out of that was as gripping and intriguing as it was. I think that it was the thing that this film has going for it is, number one, the visuals, but number two, the casting was spot on.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's one person in there that I didn't care for, and that even includes Nicholas Hoult, who I thought did a really nice job in his role. And I was talking about not seeing range from him in the past, and then this slaps me upside the head and tells me I'm dumb. So I I think that this is a really solid film that they could branch out a little bit more with, but I don't want to see them continue to try to top this film. I think that exploring the characters, as we've talked about already, would be the way to go, and especially a Furiosa film would be fascinating. But I can't help but think, do we need a film that recasts Furiosa and looks at what her life was way back when, or can we take a step back and look at Furiosa a few years prior to this with Charlize Theron? I don't know. With flashbacks, maybe. Can we factor that in?
We need to know how she lost that arm. Come on, everything needs to be explained.
And that's where I see where George Miller can go. Again, I still don't think I find she's going to make some appearance. I believe. I think it's kind of hard not to bring her in the film. But again, going back to maybe Anna Taylor-Joy taking up that role again, because they did it in this film. They had Tom Hardy replaced Mel Gibson, and he did such a great job. And now you have a fantastic actress like potentially Anna Taylor-Joy. Step into the shoes of Furiosa. So she has a little bit more flexibility because she's going to a younger version of her. She doesn't have to be spot on the character that we saw in this film. But yeah, as far as just my thoughts on the film, to me, again, I know the word gets thrown around a lot, but I think it is a true modern day masterpiece in regards to what they did on a technical level. There is, even when you really dive deep into this film, there's a lot of metaphors, a lot of symbolism in Mad Max and being maybe a bird in the cage at the beginning of the film. And you have the mask on him. He's kind of like like a bird beak. And you see him, as you mentioned, Joe, that one shot when he's raising out of the ashes, a phoenix out of the ashes. I mean, there's so many different symbolisms and different things within this film. So it gets to those extra layers, but at surface value, it's gorgeous. It's an incredible film. People bring up, what's the best car chase? This film rarely gets talked about. This literally the first half of the film is an entire car chase, which is incredible. And again, the second half is more of a race to, going back home. But I think this film is just so great. I'm really excited to see what George Miller does with this franchise moving forward, with the prequel, with following up. I believe the next one was Mad Max Wasteland was the working title for a while for the next one. But really love this film. It's one of my favorite action films of all time. I really regret not seeing it at the theater, but, obviously seeing it at home doesn't do it justice, but I love this film, which brings me to my last little game that I want to play with you all and everyone that's still here in the chat. Going back to, like I just said, my favorite action film of all time, but I didn't want to bring up all the films, but just want to keep it within this last decade from 2010 into where, 2019 in regards to what are some of you guys' favorite films in this last decade. I have a couple movies that I picked out here and kind of breaking. So there's three different franchises that I have, and I want to kind of narrow it down, and then we'll go one by one. But just starting off from this particular franchise here, I want to know from you guys both, and also everyone in the chat, which is your favorite film out of this franchise, and then we'll take it on to the next round. So starting off this game, favorite best action film in the last decade, starting off with this particular franchise here. Let me bring it up. If you guys can pick one film, I know, Joe, you mentioned you didn't see one of them, but out of the ones that's on the screen now, out of this Fast and Furious, because it has dominated this past decade, and some people do revere it as one of the best action franchises in this past decade and in the last 20 years. But starting with you, Big J, what is your favorite film, started from 2011's Fast 5, Fast 6, Fast 7, Fast 8, into the spinoff Hobbs and Shaw? Which is your favorite out of those?
So, for me, the best one is Fast 5. Fast 5 is the best movie. But I really liked Hobbs and Shaw because they took it to the ridiculous and they knew it. Mm-hmm. And I love that. That's my thing. If a movie knows it's ridiculous and he goes for the ridiculous, I don't care. I'm okay with it. When they play everything straight and then all of a sudden you have someone falling out of a building. Like my problem with John Wick 3 is everything is straight and then he falls out of a building in the end, just knocks everything out and he's still alive. And I'm like, how the hell is he alive? This, you have the Rock grabbing a helicopter with his hands with a chain. And so the most fun I had there, Black Superman and stuff I just thought it was so much fun. It was one of the best experience in the theater. Everyone was laughing. Everyone was just finding it so cool. But in terms of movie, Fast 5, it's probably the best because it's the one that's more like a heist movie and he has good characters, he has good action sequences, but not everything goes overboard. Then the other ones, 6, 7, and I don't know which one is the one that they drive a car from a building to the other to the other.
Yeah, 7. James Wan did 7. Yeah, that was the Paul Rudd, his last appearance.
So that was number 7.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Like as soon as they start doing that, I'm like, okay, what's this?
They're superheroes now, right?
Yeah, like so. Fast 5, the best one, most fun. Hobbs and Shaw.
Gotcha. And then I know you mentioned, Joe, that you didn't see Fast 8, but out of the ones you've seen out of the Fast and Furious, which again, some people do revere these films as like legit one of their favorite action films this past decade. It's this generations of Point Break, just with a lot more action, I guess you can say, and more upgrades in technology. But out of these films, which ones was your favorite out of the Fast franchise?
So it's definitely Fast 5. The reason being that it's the most, I think, grounded of the ones that you have on the screen here.
Yeah.
But also it is where I think this series really cemented itself as a solid series. And you said Paul Rudd a second ago, and I was like, oh my God, is he dead? But
Paul Rudd.
Walker.
Oh my gosh. Paul Walker. No, I apologize. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
I'm like, that's something I would have said, Elliot.
Breaking news.
No, but I think that, that's, am I cutting out again? There we go. I think that's where the series really like found its grip and knew that it was going to be one of these that like lived on year after year.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, as Big J was saying, was the last one that was, focused on an actual story that wasn't like quote unquote batshit crazy.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. I think, go ahead. What were you going to say, Yola?
Just a curiosity. This is the movies that make more money in Portugal by far.
Really?
Like they make more money than Marvel. We Portuguese love the Fast and Furious thing. They make so much more money that they thought they could hardball the cinemas, and they asked for a bigger cut in the cinemas. And the last one, the Fast 8, it didn't show in the cinemas because they wanted so much more money. It showed up in like smaller cinema chains that they let it go. But they make like double the money than everything else. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yola's trying to tell us. He's telling us about his car being damaged and all this. And the Fast and
it's quite embarrassing. Like that, this is the highest grossing movies in Portugal. It's very embarrassing, but
that's funny, man.
And last year was The Lion King, so we Portuguese don't really know our movies, as you can tell.
Gotcha, man. Again, going back to what you guys have said in regards to this batch of films here, I definitely think Fast 5 was the best film from a story perspective. It introduced The Rock for the first time. It had one of the more grounded approaches to the franchise because, like you guys had said, it just gets ridiculous more and more as the franchise went on, from flying cars to flying tanks to all that stuff. But again, to what Jay said, Hobbs and Shaw takes the ridiculousness and they actually play into it a little bit more. I think they're having a little bit more fun with the ridiculousness of the situation, where Fast 7, Fast 8, they take it almost too seriously to what they're going for. But I would definitely say Fast 5 was my favorite out of the last, decade of these particular films coming out. And we're getting Fast 9 and Fast 10 and Hobbs and Shaw 2, and then a female-centric Fast and Furious TV show, Fast and Furious. This franchise isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So
that trailer of the next one,
John Cena.
No, but the car on a wire, and then it goes after a plane, or what the hell is like
catches a car. I mean, they drop 200 feet. It's gonna get crazy. It's gonna destroy the box office.
Jesus Christ!
In Portugal film of all time,
for sure. Sadly, that's gonna be true.
Nice. So I will keep Fast 5 and put that in the back here and have it go against some of the other films. But we'll love to know what you guys think in regards to this film. Which is the better out of the franchise? Which is your favorite one? And I'll tally that one and leave that one in the back too. So out of these 3 films, which is your favorite in the franchise, guys? And I think we talked about it a little bit, Joe, but we'd love to get Big J's opinion on
first
John, 2, 3. Number one,
easily for me. Again, I love what they're doing in terms of the world building. I think it's really interesting. I'm really interested in the TV show they're doing of the Continental. But the first one, I thought it was so powerful. Like they made us really care about his dog dying. Like when his dog dies, and it's because his wife gave it to him, and that's like the one of the times that I think, just go and kill them all. That like I completely agree, kill them all. Like then just keeps going. And number 3, I really like it. The action things is amazing.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just like that last bit really got on.
The falling off of a building.
Yeah, it's like now I'm starting to believe that every time they said it was like the boogeyman, that they're right.
It really is the boogeyman, right?
It falls down a building, hits everything on the way down.
Yeah.
And it's still alive. And that's... but the first one is like, it's amazing. And I think it was the surprise factor. We never saw anything like that. When the second one comes, you kind of expecting it.
Yeah.
The first one, it was just so good.
So I think, and again, Joe, I think I know your answer on this one because we had a watch along about a week and a half ago, or a week ago with the John Wick 2. But I guess to put a spin on this, before I go to Joe, going back to just the action, I guess not necessarily the movie, which is the better movie, but which is the most, as far as like going back to action film, which is your favorite film out of the 3 that has like the most high obtained, great action? Going back to Big J.
Okay, so if it's that, number 3 is amazing.
Okay.
But also, like, to be honest, like I don't know if you guys saw the behind the scenes and the special effects reel. I was amazed, and at the same time, it took a little bit away. Like the fight with the knives. They throwing all the knives are CGI. They don't exist. And I was amazed when they throwing the knives and it's sticking on him, and then he go. So a lot of it, there's a lot of CGI in the movie, and you don't even notice. But like, just in terms of like how he uses a horse to fight, how he uses the motorcycles with the swords, that's very like the third one is kind of like a reel to show action and to show stunts. So I think in terms of fighting, in terms of action, the third one is the best one by far.
Gotcha. And then posing the same question you, Joe, in regards to, we can talk about, I think I know which one is your favorite, but you can definitely let everyone know in regards to just your favorite film. But then going back to just the best action film in the last decade, which one do you think has the most high obtained action out of the 3?
Yeah, I think so. John Wick 2 is definitely my favorite. Quick reasoning, just because I think it slows it down. It adds more to the story. I think John Wick 3 kind of tries to create more story. It's obvious to me that they didn't quite know where the whole like series of John Wick was going, and so they're trying to add more on as they go. But in terms of action, I do think it goes back to John Wick 1 because it was something we hadn't seen before. It was something that was really surprising, and I think just thinking about the way like the battle in his house after his dog dies and all that is just really something that I always think back to with this series, because it was just one person after another that he was taking down. And even the bathhouse scene, for lack of a better term, and I think it was the basement of the Continental maybe. But the bathhouse scene or whatever it was just incredible. The fighting there was, I think, something that we haven't seen in a while, and seeing the stunt Keanu Reeves play his best stuntman was incredible.
Yeah, I agree. So far we got John Wick 1 and then John Wick 2 as far as like better stories. And then I think we can agree that John Wick, well, at least me and Yolo say that John Wick 3 has the most action. And then, Joe says 2 has the best action. So I think just 2-1, we're going to go with John Wick 3 in regards to just the best action film, sticking to the theme of just the best action film in the last decade. But again, I'm really excited to see what they do with John Wick 4, see what they do with the Continental on Stars, I believe is where it's going to be premiering. And see what they do with some supporting cast members, and maybe introduce some new characters. We got the ballerina with Chloe Moretz maybe playing that character. So really interesting to see what they do with this franchise. But I'm just waiting for the day when they say that, going back to Big J and even Joe saying that him being a superhero, they're just going to tell you that he's been Neo the whole time. This has just been Neo, another Matrix. This was just he was another conscious, another universe, and this is Neo. So we're taking John Wick 3 on to next round. Fast and Furious 5 onto next round. So now finishing up my last one in regards to big franchises that were really dominant and really talked about in the last decade. This one's going to be a fun one here, because this film you talk about just gets better and better with time. I'm going to bring this up here. I'm going to love to know what you guys' thoughts are on best film of this franchise right here. So the Mission Impossible films, which if I'm not mistaken, Ghost Protocol came out in 2011, Rogue Nation 2015, and then Fallout came out 2018. So starting with you, Big J, again, going back to, we can talk a little bit about, which film do you like more in regards to story and characters, but then going back to our action conversation, which has the best action out of the three?
Yeah, I think Fallout by far is the best Mission Impossible movie. And I say that in everything. Like, the action is amazing. That guy is completely nuts. Everything that he keeps on doing with the age that he has is just impressive. Again, like I watch a lot of behind the scenes, so seeing that he was flying that helicopter in the last scene and doing all those crazy things, I think Fallout is by far. And Henry Cavill on it, like, I think he gave it the extra, because usually you don't feel like there's someone that can really hurt him, and in that one he looked like he could get hurt at any time. So I think that he has everything, and it was one of the best action movies like for the last decade by sure.
Awesome. Joe, your turn, my friend, in regards to, again, going back to just which film resonates with you more, better script, better characters, but then going back to the action question, which has the best action out of the three in the Mission Impossible?
I think all around, I'm going to just say ditto to Big J, because I think Fallout definitely is the best one there, and I totally agree. I'm a big Henry Cavill fan as it is, but mainly because I think that whatever he's in, he's a formidable opponent and a believable opponent. And I just think that he delivered here. I think Tom Cruise is getting better with every movie, and that's something you don't often see when it comes to action films in particular.
You shouldn't like this movie. It's because of this movie. It's because of this movie that the mustache ruined your Justice League.
It wasn't the mustache that ruined the Justice League. Let's be real. Stay tuned for that video.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely gonna switch things up a little bit in regards to just my personal favorite out of the three. Believe it or not, is Rogue Nation. I really, number one, I think the injection with Rebecca Ferguson to the storyline was really integral, because again, they had some really, going back to, we were talking about Furiosa. Mission Impossible was one of the few franchises that introduced women to the franchise. They were badass. They weren't women in distress. They weren't dazzled in distress. They were badass. CIA agents, and they made an impact in the franchise. But Rebecca Ferguson's character, who I can't think of her name right now, Eliza or something, I can't remember, but I thought that her introduction to the story was so great. I just love the kind of the introduction, number one, to Christopher McQuarrie coming into the mix, and the synergy that him and Tom Cruise have right now is just next level. But for me, as far as film, I just love Rogue Nation so much. But I will totally agree with you all. Fallout has some of the best action I've ever seen. As you both have mentioned, Tom Cruise is insane at this point, almost pushing 60 years old, hanging out of helicopters, jumping out of buildings in Dubai. I mean, he just goes up and up. We all know he's going to be shooting a film in NASA probably in the next 5 or 7 years. The man can do it all. Putting his personal stuff aside, the thing I've always been a fan of Tom Cruise, because he's always said it, he makes movies for us. It's not about the box office in regards to, how much am I making off of this money or movie, this, that, and the other. He always makes movies to appease the audience, and it shows in his performances in all these films, but in particular with Fallout. Again, as you guys have mentioned, I love Henry Cavill. That's my Superman. I know Christopher Reeve's legend, so on and so forth, but that's my favorite Superman. I love Henry Cavill in the movie. I can't do it, the trailer with the fist.
With the
fist. Spoiler alert for those that have seen Fallout. I wish that they didn't kill his character off, because I thought he was such a great character. But apparently, going back to this film, Nicholas Hoult might be the next villain in the next film. You got
you never saw him die.
You never saw him die, but I'm pretty sure he took a pretty big fall in there.
But
might be a Dark Maul situation when he comes back with mechanical arms and a mechanical body. But Nicholas Holt's in the next 7 and 8. Christopher McQuarrie's back. Haley what's her name? Haley Atwell.
Seinfeld.
Yeah, she's coming into the mix, and just the cast is coming in the mix. They're bringing back some of the original cast members from the first one. I'm so excited for the future. But I totally agree with you all. Fallout is just an incredible film, and we were talking about this film getting nominated for Best Picture. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I wouldn't have been surprised if Fallout got nominated in 2018. I'll just put it out there as far as like best picture, because I think that the story was really, really great in that. Even though Rogue One,
spoiler alert, it didn't.
It didn't, yeah, it didn't obviously, but I really love Fallout, so I think that's definitely going to be the one that's going to go to the next round. So love it, love it. Like I said, everyone in the chat, definitely let us know where you guys are at with this particular battle, and we're going to move on to the next round. So I'm going to take. We got Fallout. We have John Wick 3, and we have Fast 5. So now going back to kind of the individual films, and we'll tie these into the mix. But about one more franchise, actually, I don't know if you call it a franchise, but there's a sequel to this film. And this is, for me, these are some of the best action films I've ever seen of all time. And I would love to know what you all think of this particular two films here, and who do you have winning as far as best movie, best action for these two bad boys right here. 2012, Raid 1, and 2014, Raid 2. Big J, well, I guess, have you guys seen both of these films?
Yeah, love them.
Joe, you're shaking your head, my friend. Have you seen at least the first one, or you haven't seen either one of them?
Neither one of them.
Oh, man. I don't think they're on Netflix, unfortunately, but if you are a fan of action, karate, the stunt work, this is the films for you, my friend. I can't recommend. I can't stress enough how incredible these films are. But Big J, man, if you had to pick between the first Raid and the second Raid, which kind of goes into a different direction, like a mafia storyline, which one would you like more, and then which has the best action out of the two?
I like the best, the first one the best. I think the first one, because it's more contained, it kind of gives you that. It kind of gives you that claustrophobic thing. I think the action is cleaner. I used to do martial arts, so what these guys do is absolutely crazy. And this for me is like the inspiration of a lot of movies that came after. Like we talk about a lot of, like, for example, the Daredevil TV shows and like the corridor fights and stuff like that. A lot of it comes from here. And this is why, when you said like best action last decade, this is the one I was thinking. I think is just incredible. But I would pick the first one for sure. Would be my favorite.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. The first Raid, I was a little behind in regards. So I didn't see it when it came out in 2012. I literally saw the Raid for the first time like 3 years ago. And I immediately, this was another blind buy because I heard so many great things about it. I bought this one, bought the second one, love them both. The action, you went back to the inspiration that this film did. This I wouldn't be surprised if some of the John Wick people took some inspiration from this film.
Oh, for sure.
Nico Brothers, Atomic Blonde, I mean, so on and so forth. Just and again, you mentioned Daredevil. So many different iconic moments. I think Dread, for me, that's a certain extent, kind of like Dread, where they had to go each level to.
That's what I was gonna say. Dread is like an obvious copy of this. But I don't care because it's cool. I love Dread. Yeah. So I don't care. But it is like someone said, look, that movie, The Raid, let's put Judge Dredd in it. That would be cool. And that's it, because it's exactly the same kind of thing.
Couldn't agree more. But then going back to, showing some love to the sequel, because again, I can't recommend enough, Joe. The sequel's great, man. It takes it to another direction and gets more into, like, again, some mafia storyline, a little bit more integral storyline, a lot more plots in the second one than the third one or the first one. It's a lot longer too, but it doesn't feel that long in regards to just you're following these characters. You see some characters again, and really great movie. And that kitchen fight between Iko's Wise and the particular villain in the second one is just such great fighting skills in that movie. But I'll definitely go with the first Raid as winning this particular battle. But again, both great films. It's not Gareth Edwards. What's the director's name?
It is. No, it's Simo. It's the guy that did the new show of Gangs of London.
I can't think of his name right now, but
everyone's talking about.
He needs to get. I was personally.
Gareth Evans.
Gareth Evans, there it is. Yeah, I was so upset when I heard that they weren't making a Deathstroke movie and him directing it, because it sounded like it just would have been incredible, and his name would have been out there more, because I don't think a lot of people have seen The Raid, unfortunately, with just box office wise. But yeah, the second one's great, but the first one's a winner for me. So Joe, again, my friend, if you get a chance, I know we have our, a laundry list of films that we're all kind of catching up on during this quarantine, but high up on that list, man, is The Raid 1 and 2. I promise you won't be disappointed, man.
Yeah, this isn't the first time I've heard that, so I definitely need to check them out. They're moving up the list slowly.
Definitely, man. So we'll take the raid on to the next round, and now we're getting into the now 1-on-1, and I'm taking note for the ones that we took out of the first round. But now we're getting to the 1-on-1 movies as far as in the past decade. So this one here, very similar in regards to kind of the spy espionage type of films. Two great directors, two great performances in these movies here, but we'd love to know who you guys would pick as far as favorite movie, and then also action movie. Which one do you guys have? These are more cerebral films, but what do you guys have for these two here? Skyfall 2012 and 2010's Inception.
I would go for Inception. I'm not like I think Casino Royale is the best James Bond, not Skyfall.
Gotcha.
I think Skyfall has some good things in it, but Casino Royale is a lot better. But Inception is like it's not for the it's not the action itself. There's that corridor scene that's amazing, and again done with practical effects, what makes it even better. But Inception is, I think it's more inspired a lot more things that came after, and I think it's a better movie. I would go in the Inception.
Awesome. Same with you, Joe. Skyfall's action storyline versus Inception action storyline. Who do you got?
It has to be Inception for me as well. Inception's honestly one of my favorite movies ever, probably, just because I think it's so intelligently done, and the action is top notch in the same for the same reasons that Big J just mentioned. I mean, the practical effects, and when you see the behind the scenes of that hallway scene, it's just absolutely incredible what Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his counterpart there were able to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall it's a movie that is. It keeps you on the edge of your feet. With diving into the different levels in Inception, you get different scenery, different action sequences that really I think diverge from the ones that we've seen before.
Gotcha. Yeah, unfortunately, Mr. James Bond. I'm a big Bond fan, especially Daniel Craig, but I definitely agree with Big J. Actually, it depends on the day. Skyfall versus Casino Royale, two great films, but in regards to just going back to originality, again, I love James Bond, but this is obviously one of many 25 films or 26 films in the franchise, or 23. But Inception was an original idea. Christopher Nolan, just him and his brother do a great job of creating these stories. I love the performances. We talked about Tom Hardy earlier, great supporting cast member of this, as well as Ellen Page and everyone else involved, Joseph Levitt-Gordon, and of course Leo and Marion. So I mean, the cast was great, but the film was just amazing. It's one of my favorite films as well, Joe, in regards to just of all time. I really love it. It's a great film. It's a great action movie. And this was really kind of just shows you what he can do with an original IP. I mean, I think this film is $800+ million, which just insane. No film in today's society, it's very rare. Christopher Nolan's one of the only directors that can put in something, this original IP, and it makes boo-goos of money. I mean, he has that rare type of talent. So I'm definitely going with Inception as well. So couldn't agree more with that pick there. So I'm putting Inception off. Now this one's going to be a fun one too. This is again another Tom Cruise film, but a film that we actually just got done watching. We'd love to know what you guys think about these two fun action films that are on the screen now. So we just watched Fury Road, and I got it going against Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt's Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, whatever you want to call it. Who do you have in these two movies? Big J, starting with you.
Okay, this is the hardest one for me because I love Edge of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so underrated. I think it's so clever. If we talk in action, I have to go Mad Max. What they done in Mad Max is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But Edge of Tomorrow is a really good movie that more people should see.
Yeah.
But I'll have to go. We're talking like Mad Max.
I agree. And then same with you, Joe. We just watched, I know, again, kind of within the conversation, but also looking at the film, but then, taking Mad Max Fury Road versus a Tom Cruise film. Like Big J said, it didn't get enough attention, in my opinion. I think some of that was due to the marketing, but then hopefully we'll see a sequel with Doug Liman sometime sooner rather than later. But who do you have winning this particular battle?
It's Mad Max. I think this is an easy one for me. Just the continuous action in it. And I think the focus on the visuals around the action is what really makes it kind of a beautiful action film for me.
Gotcha. Like I said, I agree with when Big J said it. I love Edge of Tomorrow and the original kind of, well, not original because I did have that Groundhog's Day type of approach, but original to the particular, the genre, with it being action. And again, I hope that we get to sequel before Tom Cruise, breaks every bone in his body for Mission Impossible 7 and 8. But really looking forward to see, and I love Emily Blunt. This is just such a badass character. Again, another original, organic, awesome character, female character. But yeah, I'm definitely going with Mad Max on this one. 2 great movies. Can't recommend them enough. But yeah, Mad Max is the easy one for me. So those were the first rounds. Like I said, I've been emailing myself here the winners of the first one. So let me just bring this up here. But again, I know Big J, you did a post earlier about kind of post-apocalyptic action films, and you had Dread in there. You had Blade Runner, and there was another film that I'd actually been meaning to see. Was it Doom?
Snowpiercer. He had Snowpiercer.
Yeah, I love Snowpiercer.
He had Brazil. He had. Did you guys ever watch Brazil?
No, that's on my watch list.
Can't say that I have.
Yeah, that's on my watch list.
That's one crazy movie. Doomsday.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
Doomsday, Dread, Escape from New York, Brazil, Akira, Snowpiercer, Blade Runner, and Mad Max.
Gotcha. I'm actually one of those few people that actually love Blade Runner 2049 more than I do the original. Just me personally, Denis Villeneuve. I love that film. It's one of my favorite films of all time, by the way, 2049. But I definitely
respect the original. The original, I give it a little bit of an edge, but yeah, it's a sequel. Another one that I thought, we don't need this movie. Why are you making this? And then I saw it, that's why I think sometimes now I just like see the movie and then see if we need it or not. But the first one.
No, I agree.
But watch Brazil. Even if you hate it, it will be one of the only movies that you'll come like in the end you think, well, I never saw anything like that, or ever will I again see something like that.
Everyone that talks about it says that. I've definitely been it's definitely been on my watch list for a while. Just got to find where it's available to watch.
Yeah.
But going back to our first round, and we'll just kind of, going back to the ones that won. Who do you have? And this is just pure action as far as action film, and also, just film and personal. Who do you guys have winning this one here between Fast 5 and John Wick 3?
Probably give it to John Wick. Vin Diesel gets on my nerves. Like. I love Vin Diesel in what's he called? The one that he can see in the dark.
Riddick. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Riddick. Like that's the only character I think I like because he doesn't.
I thought you were going to say the pacifier or whatever.
Oh no. Riddick or the Iron Giant or Guardians of the Galaxy. So when he doesn't speak a lot, he's okay.
That says a lot about an actor, right?
Yeah, but yeah, John Wick. I would give it to John Wick in this.
Gotcha. Hey, guys, Joe has to head out, so I'm gonna have Joe just kind of give his final word in regards to, where you can find him, what to expect from him next. Again, Joe, I appreciate you having you on, man. So I'm gonna let you kind of head out and let the people know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. A lot of fun. Obviously, it's always a great time to get together. This was a flawed contest, though, because Batman versus Superman is not involved in it. So
I did not want to have superheroes
in
it.
Like to throw that out there. No comment at this time. But no, I really appreciate this. Speaking of Batman versus Superman, Elliot's going to be joining me as well as Mike from the Real Gay Movie Show next Wednesday night for a watch party of Batman versus Superman. So that should be fun and not divisive at all. And we, as I said earlier, quarantine conversations tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then next week, it's a full lineup of them starting on Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 7. We have Tuesdays with Cherry Picks. Wednesday is Griff Schiller. And Thursday is slipping my mind right now, but I will be posting about them. And yeah, keep an eye out for a lot of the fun stuff we have going on the channels, and more to come. A lot more collaboration, I think, we will be seeing in the future.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, again, Joe, I really appreciate you joining us, man. I look forward to BVS, the conversation on Wednesday. Look forward to that film there. But yeah, man, like Joe said, guys, check out his content. He has a lot of great content on his Instagram and his YouTube as well, and it's on his website as well. He has a lot of great insight on films, a lot of great conversations on his Instagram as well. So definitely give him a follow, support his content, and we'll be seeing you sooner rather than later, Joe, man. I appreciate you being on tonight, man.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, take care, man.
Bye.
Alrighty, so I'm right there with you, Big J, in regards to I think John Wick. That's a pretty easy win for moving on to the next round here. So let me bring up the other contenders from the last round, and hold on one second. So from the last round, we had these two films, and I would love to know who you have winning this one here, Big J. Let's bring it up here, and. So from the two first round winners, Fallout versus The Raid 1.
Yeah, God. For action, I have to give The Raid. The Raid is just like the action is just crazy. It's like you watching something. It's kind of like watching a security tape of somewhere. It's so real. It's so like raw. Like Mission Impossible, you still have the like. It's all nice and tight, and the fight it's like looks like there's a choreography. Here is just like there's savage fights there that you think there can't be no, like these guys have to be really fighting about something. So I would give it The Raid for sure.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you again. This is the perfect example of a Hollywood action film, a really well done, gritty, raw action film with Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill. But I mean, those are movie stars.
Yeah,
what they were able to do with The Raid, like you just mentioned, it looks like they were able to film this on a very low budget, but everything looks so raw and real. I don't know if people died making this movie, if they were brutally injured. Again, Ecos Wise was the one that came out of me as like a superstar. Like the one, I don't know if you saw, what was that movie with Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg?
Mile 22.
The only thing that saved that film for me from being an absolute disaster. But I love Eco Wise. I love what he's doing in his career so far. He's like our generation Jackie Chan or Jet Li in regards to the superstars in Hollywood or future superstars. But yeah, I got to go with The Raid with this one too, man. I think like you said it perfectly at the beginning that people look at this film and like make it like The Raid, and I'm not looking forward to, as you had mentioned about giving movies chances, I'm not looking forward to the American version of The Raid, though I like is it Joe Cornhan that's writing the new one, I think. He's a pretty good action guy, and I think Frank Grillo is supposed to be starting. I'm not looking forward to the American version of it, but
just to start off, like Frank is like I kind of like his movies.
Me too. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, there's very few people, and maybe Keanu is one of them. There's very few people that are not martial artists all their lives, and you can make them look like they are. There's not very few people that can pull that off. And again, all these guys here in The Raid, all of them, they are martial artists that trained all their lives, and you can tell that. There's no like the biggest problem sometimes in fights is like, and you saw it in Star Wars when they having that fight in The Last Jedi, and it's like someone is behind you with the lightsaber and he's waiting for his turn to attack. It's like, okay, is it my going on? That's the thing. Like in this The Raid, you have a guy that turns his back and he's getting punched in the head straight away. It's so real, and Hollywood doesn't do that because they still have this thing that they still have to get big actors to be in the front of the thing, and they don't show people by their talent for something. They have to get these big talents like in front, so like Tom Cruise or Keanu or whatever. So I think that's going to be the first problem. They're not going to put like no one that is a martial artist but is unknown in the front line, and straight away that's the issue.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more in regards to just the, how they approach these films and the grittiness of it. Again, I would love to see. I want to see Gareth Evans continue to do the films that he's doing. The international films, bringing on these international superstars and showing them to a bigger audience. I know there was talk about a Raid 3, but I think he said that he feels more satisfied with just 1 and 2 because he doesn't really know where he can take a part 3. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what they, Ecos Wise and all those guys. Again, they were in the Star Wars film, right? That they brought great guys in that film, and I thought that they were gonna be the Knights of Ren potentially, but that didn't play out that way. But the Raid is just one of my favorite, action films. One of my favorite films just in general. And it's just raw and gritty and just so amazing of a film. I couldn't recommend it enough for those that have.
Yeah, but and this shows, like, for example, I'm sure they went to Garrett Evans and said, "Hey, we want to do an American version of this." I'm sure they went to him and asked him, but he knows, and that's why either, like, if you see his filmography, like after doing these movies, you think, well, why is this guy not doing John Wicks and doing all this? Because he knows if he goes to Hollywood, he's not going to make the movies he's making. Exactly. And that's obvious because I'm sure everyone is after him because, like, the success this adds. And he doesn't go because he knows. And I think that he's very smart, the projects he's been choosing. And like you said, he could do Raid 3, but he knew he wouldn't be as good. So I give a lot of credit to directors that are able to say, look, I'm not going to do that because I don't have a story, and maybe one day I'll have it and I'll do it then. But now, what's the point?
No, couldn't agree more. And I'm not going to lie, I would like to see what he would have done. You were talking about the films that, we never got. With this whole HBO Max, and I know that he's doing a TV show, which I heard great things about, which I don't know where, Gangs of London, where is it? Like, is it on, where is it playing? What platform?
I don't know, but I saw a lot of people reviewing it, and supposedly it's really good. But I'm not very sure where he's playing.
I got to find it because I'm hearing some great things about it. But what I was getting at was I would love to, if DC, we'll see what HBO Max becomes of Green Lantern and some of these other DC shows they want to bring on the platform. But if they can get Garrett Evans to do a Deathstroke TV show, maybe, or again, just approach him again for the film and maybe do like they did with the Joker and give him a standalone, Deathstroke film and let it be itself. But yeah, I'm a big fan of his work and I can't wait to see what he does next. I think he's a fantastic director. So again, going back to our the ones that won their last round, let me pull it up here. So we got these two behemoths of a film going against each other. I would love to know what you think about these two here in regards to who's winning this battle for movie and just action film in general.
Again, if we're talking about action, it has to be Mad Max because Mad Max relies just on the action, like from the beginning to the end. The action is like a part of the movie. It's like one of the actors. Inception, a lot of it goes on the conceptual thing of the levels of the dreams and how time moves. It kind of shares the spectacular effects and actions with the concept. It's one without the other. It wouldn't be as good as a movie. If you take the action out of Mad Max, it's just nothing. There's nothing. So I would have to say Mad Max.
No, I agree with you. And also, too, I know some people have mentioned some other films, like Joe mentioned, some of the other films out there. This particular list, again, from 2010 to 2019, no superhero movies, just pure action movies, because there's a ton of superhero movies. But then also, I didn't want to do all time because then we would have been here for 30 hours. Two and aliens and all that stuff. So those were kind of the rules. I guess I should set that up top. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. I'm taking Mad Max from a pure action film. Again, I couldn't agree with you more. If you took out the action of Mad Max, it's a completely different movie. But if you take the action out of Inception, it's still a psychological, trippy type of film that doesn't really rely on the action as much as John Wick or as much as Fury Road did. So definitely agree with you there in regards to action. So wrapping up, we're kind of narrowing it down to our final four, and would love to know, again, I think this is going to be an easy one, but you might surprise me here because I think this film takes a lot of inspiration from it. But who do you have winning this battle? And again, pure action.
Again, is the Raid. I'll still give it to the Raid. I love John Wick. I love what they did, but it's still inspired on the Raid. So you have to give it to the original. They did it before everyone, and still, if you compare one with the other, the Raid is still more visceral. It just it just does things that you can't do in a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah,
we'll give it a rate.
Yeah, John Wick 3 again. Chad Skazowski and all the other people involved in that. Definitely, I could only imagine them taking some inspiration from The Raid and what they did with that film, and implementing it on their films and seeing what they do moving forward with the John Wick 4. And I know they're being brought back for the Matrix 4. But again, this, like you said, this kind of started all in regards to this generation's gritty type of action kung fu film like we used to get back in the 80s and the 90s from a Bruce Lee back in the day. And obviously going to Jackie Chan and going to, Ip Man, things of that nature. Of those type of films are just brutal, visceral, but they have a good story. They have good characters. And the action is insane. So
if you insert Jackie Chan movies here, maybe they have a fight against the Raids, but apart from that, I don't see many. But Jackie Chan was just like next level in everything.
One of my favorites, man. I grew up with Jackie Chan films, in the jungle and all that stuff, and I think he's a legend, man. And I love what he did with his, jumping into comedy with the Rush Hour films. I love the Rush Hour franchise.
I get a bit annoyed with the voice of what's his name?
Come on, man. Go ever touch black man's radio?
Yeah, it's just like his voice after a while. But like I don't know if you ever saw The Fifth Element. He always reminds me of him in there. That it was so annoying. But Jackie Chan and him, they had good chemistry, and I think that's one of the most important things. He was a bit annoying, but he kind of played into the part that he needed to play. Mm-hmm. But the action is incredible.
Definitely couldn't agree more. So that brings us down to the final two. I think we've all been keeping tally and mark of who's going to be in the final two, and this is going to be a tough one, Big J. But finishing up this game here. Best action film in the past decade. We got Mad Max Fury Road versus The Raid.
Yeah. Well, in this, I'll just have to give it to Mad Max because of they did everything. They did fights, they did cars, they did everything possible to do in terms of action. The Raid is if we'd say best fighting sequences, would probably win easily by against everything, like martial arts movie. But what they did in Mad Max is just the amount of skills that people had to have. You had to have people that could be hanging on sticks and going from cars. You had to have guys in bikes, guys in cars, guys that does falls from cars that are incredible. You had to have weapons. You had to have explosions. So just by the amount of different things that they had to show in a way, I would give it to Mad Max.
Yeah. Again, you hit the nail on the coffin in regards to just, The Raid is incredible. The action, the hand-to-hand combat, the visceral approach to the film. The story is really interesting. Again, the kind of, back in my days of playing a video game or some sorts, going to each level and there's a different boss on each level and more difficulty as you go on. But when you take away those amazing action sequences, the film is still a really good film, but the masterful art of what they did. This was like Mozart. This was, a painting. This is just such a beautifully well-made film by George Miller. And I think the performances, no disrespect to Iko Uwais and those guys that made the Raid films. The acting is, good for what it is, but, Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy and all the amazing talented people involved definitely kind of add a little bit more from the acting. So with that just being said, I think we can both agree that this past decade, the winner of the best action film is Mad Max Fury Road. I couldn't agree more, man. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Like I had mentioned, I think it's a masterpiece. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for this franchise. And this is coming from someone that doesn't even really remember part 1, part 2. I didn't see 3. I'm definitely going to have to revisit those films just before Furiosa, maybe see if they maybe introduce some of those characters into the new one. But nevertheless, this is my favorite action film of this past decade, taking away superhero films and even sci-fi action. This is I couldn't agree with you more, man.
And I think this just proves how ridiculous it was from Warner Brothers to be trying and for $15 million, try and get this away from George Miller. Like what it done, like it created a movie that people will never forget for Warner Brothers, and they should be thankful for that. And this is where I think that sometimes like they need to play the long game. They need to make these guys that are unique artists happy. People like Nolan, if you need to pay him more, you pay him more, because if it doesn't work for you, he's going to work to the next guy, and he's going to make the movies that are going to destroy the box office. So they should look at this, what these guys are doing, and give more credit, and give them, like, if they need to pay, you pay. If you don't win it all now, you can win it later. And that's what, like, I think we need to get more now in Hollywood, because we used to have that. Spielberg could do the movies he wanted. Like, he did Schindler's List, and he did Amistad, and he did all that because he did Jurassic Park, because he did all those movies that made tons of money. And today, people kind of forget that. And we have one or two that can do whatever they want, like Nolan. But then the other ones, they make amazing movies. And then it's like you don't hear anything from them for years. It's like it's impressive. I don't get it. I don't understand how it works. But this movie shows that if you have someone that loves the properties, and I was one that thought, like, he's too old to make a movie like this. Well, it wasn't, and now I'm really wanting to see what he does with Furiosa.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I agree with all your sentiments there in regards to Hollywood, given these, I think what the way the system kind of works now in the regards to, I'll do one for Hollywood and I'll do my independent film. I think Chris Nolan did that for a while with the Dark Knight franchise, and we see what happened now. I think the next directors that are going to maybe do that approach is the Russo brothers. They obviously dominated the MCU, and now they have Extraction. They have their own production company, and we're going to see them probably dipping in and out of these franchise films. And we have a smaller film like Cherry coming out on Netflix, and like one for you, one for me approach. So I think that's kind of the standard now, and that's why you're going to be seeing a Deborah Chow in the Star Wars universe, Taika Waititi. You see these directors latch on to these big projects. You see these smaller, especially the MCU. I think of the director of Eternals. I think of the director of Black Widow. They make great independent films, and then Marvel, Kevin Feige's pulling them out and saying, hey, make this big blockbuster film. So hopefully things kind of turn around. We see some of these great independent filmmakers make their films, have their films being made, see their vision all the way through, and hopefully the future looks bright. Because I think this is a masterpiece. It's only 5 years old. You said it so perfectly. It's 5 years old, but you would think that this movie was made yesterday with the technology, the cinematography, the score. It's a great film, and I think I couldn't agree with you more, Big J. Best action film this past decade, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, agree, 100%.
Yeah. So that was fun. Again, Big J, I appreciate you playing that game and all the games we played tonight. Again, I appreciate you joining in on this live stream and sharing your incredible thoughts on Mad Max, other films, your thoughts on the film industry, what you hope to see in the future. So we're going to wrap this up, guys. I'm going to let Big J let everyone know where they can find you. What can we expect from you next in regards to maybe event group things that you do on Instagram? I know you have a YouTube channel. Can we expect some things on your YouTube channel? I know you did that new segment that you had with the Casual Moviegoer a couple weeks ago. Where can the people find you, and what can we expect in the future from you, my friend?
So for now, we are just in Instagram. We want to do some things on YouTube, but we want to do it with the community. Like, I think it's a lot more fun than doing it on our own. So we did, for example, that movie fights kind of thing that we were both defending different movies and giving our reasons to. We did that like experiment to see how people would react, and we want to do that in the future. But for now, on Instagram, we have our page that's a YOLO Movies blog, but we also work with another Instagram page that kind of does community events. That's Movie Lovers Movie Club. And what we do is like we get movies for the community. It's kind of like a book club that everyone watches the same movie and everyone talks about it. But this time we're doing something different. We asked 30 different accounts what they are missing the most in the quarantine, and to pick a movie that represents that the best. For example, we're doing E.T., because what we miss the most is be able to fly home. My daughter is in the UK. I'm in Portugal. It's been 3 months since we saw each other. And that part of E.T. wanting to phone home and see his family, that's kind of something that we are feeling right now. So that's our pick. And there's going to be 29 other accounts that are going to pick movies that represent what they're missing. So I think it's going to be really interesting to know these people, because they're going to be talking about a movie, but also their personal experiences. And I think that's what's cool. We love doing stuff that shows what this community is all about, because watching movies is a lot of fun, but talking about it, it's also a lot of fun. And that's why we created this account. So we can see a lot more of that in our account.
When does that event start again, for the one that you just mentioned?
So that starts when I'm very bad with dates. Let me just see here.
Was it the 29th, if I'm not mistaken?
No, I think it's the 25th that it starts on the 25th.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so we're gonna have 5 days. So it's gonna be from the 25th to the 29th, and we're gonna have 6 accounts each day. So each day we're gonna have 6 accounts talking about a movie and what they missed the most.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I wasn't able to get on this one just because I got all this stuff with the watch songs, and I feel like I'm on a stream every other day, which has been great. Because again, I took that from you guys, man. Just the community you guys have built on your Instagram and how much fun we have when we do these and do these events. So I took that page out of your book, my friend, in regards to just more collaborations, interacting with people all across the world. I've been loving it, man. So again, guys, make sure if you haven't already, check out him and his daughter's Instagram. They have a phenomenal Instagram account. He has a great website. They got a lot of things in the works with some other, YouTube and all that stuff too. But definitely check out his Instagram. A lot of great content there. So there you have it. Big J, I appreciate you being on again, my friend. This will not be the last time we see you.
Thank you so much.
No problem, man. I know you're a horror fan too, right? You like horror.
Yeah, I like everything.
Like everything, yeah.
I watch everything. I like. There's a couple of things like musicals that it's not really my thing. But like, for example, The Greatest Showman, it was loads of fun. War movies is something else, but I like Saving Private Ryan and a few. But I like everything. I love horror. Horror is really
my calendar here. I know that I can't remember when it is. I thought I put it in my phone, but there are some movies that will be celebrating some anniversaries here. Like Back to the Future will be having its 35th anniversary, I believe, next month. So I definitely will love to get to you on that. And I think Inception, July 16th, will be celebrating its 10-year anniversary. I know we're about 2 months out from that, but I would love to get you on that.
That's another movie that's like 10 years, and you watch it today.
Crazy.
You watch it today, and it still looks like it could have been done today.
Exactly.
It's crazy. 10 years. That's amazing.
So I would love to get you on those watch. Of course,
cool.
Keep up to date with those, man. But again, I appreciate you being on. Everyone out there, be safe. Thank you for watching this watch along. I'll be back next week with my watch along for the 40th anniversary of The Shining. I got some horror people I'll reach out to, and we'll be watching it next Saturday. So keep an eye out for that. But Big J, I appreciate you, man. You and your family.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon, my friend.
Be safe. Thank you. Bye.
Take care.